Chapter 953. Brother Mo also mentioned earlier that the chess saint had come up with a couplet for him during their match. Since we don't have any good topic, we might as well borrow the chess saint's couplet and compete with Brother Mo. If Brother Mo can match this couplet on the spot, then we'll consider this match our loss? Wouldn't that be clean and tidy? Zhang Yushu said generously. Yushu, your idea is brilliant. Zhang Qingfeng nodded. Let's do it like this. The two brothers echoed each other, and no one else responded. Only the two of them were talking amongst themselves, and they actually decided on the topic for the third round. Everyone, including Miao Xiao Miao and Jun Moxie, was dumbfounded. This was too shameless. To be shameless to this extent, this was no longer a realm, but a domain. The other party had already said that he couldn't match it, and this couplet was said by him himself. And now, you guys are using this couplet to make things difficult for him? Isn't this a little too talented? How can this be? Miao Xiao Miao's face was red with anger. This couplet was said by Brother Mo just now. If he had used this couplet as a topic to test you guys, it would still be acceptable. But now, you guys are using it to compete with him. Zhang Yushu, do you still know how to write the word shame? Little sister Xiao Miao, you're wrong. Zhang Qingfeng said with a smile. This is the topic that the chess saint came up with for Brother Mo. We are only fulfilling his wish, hoping that Brother Mo can match it as soon as possible. Using this as a topic now is just to give Brother Mo some motivation. I believe that Brother Mo can understand our good intentions. Haha, that means that you guys have actually done a good deed? Does the chess saint, Huawu Quo, or Brother Mo need to thank you? How preposterous! Miao Xiao Miao laughed in anger. There's no need for that. We don't care if we are grateful or not. As long as Brother Mo can match the second verse, the chess saint's wish will be fulfilled. Even if we lose another round, it doesn't matter. Zhang Yushu chuckled and said shamelessly. For a person to be as shameless as you all, it's an eye-opener for me. Sure enough, the most despicable people are invincible. Miao Xiao Miao said disdainfully, Misty Mansion's Zhang family. From now on, your name will shake the entire Misty Mansion. This is truly worthy of celebration. When Zhang Yushu mentioned this method of competition, Jun Moxie almost burst out laughing. Damn it, you guys are really honest. Did you really believe me when I said I didn't match it? At first glance, this couplet was definitely not fake. However, China had 5,000 years of history and had produced many talented people. This couplet could be matched very quickly after the first couplet appeared. As long as one was not in a hurry, it was not really difficult to match it if one wanted to pass the acupoint. You two idiots. Idiots who think they've succeeded in their scheme. The level of shamelessness has really reached the pinnacle. Jun Mo Xie pursed his lips and said, to actually use this one's recount of the past to ask this genius for advice. The two of you are truly quick-witted. This great genius can't help but write the word convinced. I'm truly convinced and impressed. Zhang Yushu's face turned red. He straightened his face and said rudely, the third round is to compare our couplets. As long as you can match our couplet, you win. Otherwise, you lose. It's that simple. Listen, our first verse is, Heaven as the chessboard, the stars as the chess pieces, who dares to play? Great prodigy Mo, please match the second verse. Nonsense. I've already said that when Huawu Quo came up with this couplet, I didn't match the second verse immediately. Now, you guys are using this to make things difficult. What's the meaning of this? Besides, when did this couplet become your couplet? Can your Zhang family be any more shameless? Do you guys still have the bearing of an aristocratic family? Jun Moxie put on an indignant expression and rebuked angrily. Why is great prodigy Mo scared? Looking at this free and natural physique prodigy's change from his calm and unruffled appearance to an anxious look, Zhang Yushu couldn't help but gloat. He thought to himself, thank you for giving me such a good topic. How could I possibly match such an absolute couplet in such a short time? Especially since he admitted that he couldn't match the second half of the couplet. This is the best way to make things difficult for others. Otherwise, I really don't know if others can stump you. This time, you've really lifted a rock and smashed it on your own feet. This feeling is really too satisfying. I don't accept this round's method of competition, June Moxie said unhappily. You guys are simply making trouble without reason. That means Great Prodigy Mo is prepared to admit defeat? Zhang Qingfeng asked coldly. What a joke. How can I admit defeat? How can I lose? June Moxie put on a fierce expression and said, It's just that I need some time to think about it. Then you can slowly think about it. As long as you can come up with it today. We're not in a hurry, lest others say that we're bullying you. We have plenty of time. Zhang Yushu was very pleased. You've been thinking about this couplet for so many years and still couldn't match it. How can it be matched in half a day? Both sides were silent for a moment. Suddenly, June Moxie said, Unfortunately, I still feel that this is too unfair. You guys are actually using my topic to make things difficult for me. What a joke. June Moxie furrowed his brows. Besides, there's no benefit at all. Who would bet with you? This is extra. May I ask what Great Prodigy Mo wants? Zhang Yushu chuckled coldly. You can name your conditions as long as you can match the second verse. Everything is not a problem. Isn't this what it means to be fierce in appearance but cowardly in heart? Obviously, you have no hope of matching the second verse and want to go back on your word. Speaking of going back on your word, I'm an expert in this field. I'll definitely make sure that you don't get off the stage. I'll agree to whatever you say. In any case, you definitely won't be able to match the second verse. So what if you agree to more conditions? You really want me to name my conditions? That's great. Actually, my conditions are very simple, and I believe that both of you brothers will be able to fulfill them easily. I just want to know how you managed to control Lin Qing-yin, to be able to make such a refined and virtuous person compete for you. And also, what benefits did you give Qi Wanjie? If I am able to match the second half of the couplet, I want you to tell me the entire process in front of everyone. You are not allowed to hide anything. Of course, the prerequisite is that you must swear a blood oath to ensure its authenticity. You don't have to waste time thinking about the conditions of the oath. Just follow the first half. June Moxie chuckled and really gave a simple condition that the Zhan family brothers could agree to, but were destined to be unable to accept. June Moxie originally did not want to bother with this matter. His goal for this trip was only for the Rainbow Holy Tree. No matter how big the Zhan family's ambitions were, it had nothing to do with him. No matter how many talents the Zhan family had, they did not have the ability to infiltrate the Tian Fa forest. Although the Zhan family could practically cover the sky with one hand in the Misty Mansion, in June Moxie's eyes, they did not have much weight. The internal strife in the Misty Mansion had nothing to do with him. In fact, it would be better if the Misty Mansion was in chaos. The more chaotic it was, the less time they would have to enter the Xian continent to cause trouble. It was fine even if the death ray died out, but step by step, the Zhan family's shameless and overbearing actions had truly caused June Moxie to feel annoyed. But he could not reveal his strength now. Furthermore, even if he could reveal his strength, the actions of the Zhan family brothers, on the surface, were only individual actions. It might not be related to the entire Zhan family. It was not to the extent of causing him to spill blood all over the city in a fit of anger. Secondly, he could not help but empathize with Miao Xiao Miao. Ever since they met, this veiled woman had been helping him, supporting him step by step. If it wasn't for her presence today, the so-called fairness and notarization wouldn't have happened. Miao Xiao Miao was a woman. In a situation where they were not related to each other and had only known each other for a short period of time, she did not hesitate to show her face and do all these things for him. How could June Moxie's heart not be touched? Right now, the Misty Mansion was under the control of the Meow family. If the Jean family had the ambition to fight for supremacy, then the first target would definitely be the Meow family. Only by overthrowing the Meow family could the Jean family rise to power. June Moxie felt that he had accepted Meow Xiao Meow's help. If he still did not care about the Jean family's plot, he would not be able to explain himself. It would go against his heart of repaying kindness and enmity with a clear conscience. But he did not have a good excuse right now. Coincidentally, Zhang Yushu said that he could make any conditions, so he naturally had to go with the flow. This was also the main reason why Jun Daxiao pretended to be a fool and put on this show. In fact, Jun Daxiao did not expect the Zhang family brothers to really reveal all their secret method. All June Moxie wanted was for them to agree. As long as he won this round, regardless of whether the Zhang family brothers revealed all their secret methods, the result would not change. Because as long as he combined it with today's matter, and if Meow Xiao Meow went back and told them about it, it would definitely attract the attention of the Meow family's higher-ups towards the Zhang family. At that time, it would be very difficult for the Zhang family to carry out all their plots and schemes silently like before. All those old fellows who had lived for a long time and held great authority would not give anything for free. Which one of them was easy to deal with? Every one of these old men had grown up in the midst of conspiracies and schemes, so that was why June Moxie brought up this condition that seemed to have nothing to do with him, but was extremely important to the Zhang family and the Miao family. Zhang Qingfeng and Zhang Yushu were both stunned. Why did he ask for this? Did he discover something, or was he purposely making things difficult to avoid this topic? Chapter 954. Zhang Yushu looked at June Moxie suspiciously and suddenly laughed coldly. "Mo Junyi, you're not doing this on purpose, are you? You know that you can't answer this couplet, yet you insist on spouting nonsense, thinking that it's all a plot. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to smear our Zhang family with dirty water?" June Moxie snorted. "Smear? Of course not. Since you've raised your conditions, I naturally have to raise my conditions too. If you agree, then you agree. If you don't agree, then you don't agree. What's the point of changing the topic? Just say it frankly, don't make me look down on you young masters of the aristocratic families." The Zhang brothers exchanged a look. Zhang Yushu said softly, "Big brother, what do you think?" Zhang Qingfeng's eyes flickered. This simple condition is not a small matter. The other party's condition seems to have nothing to do with him, but it's actually targeting our weakness. Once we agree, if the other party really manages to match it, then the people we found today will immediately lose their future. And from now on, it will be difficult for our Zhang family to do anything. This is equivalent to cutting off the source of talent. Because no one wants a master who might betray them at any time. I'm thinking of this as well. But what if this is something that Mo Junyi can't match at all and came up with to make things difficult for us? If we let this go easily, the chances of us winning the next few rounds will be even slimmer. If we lose like this, all our previous plans will be for naught, and we still have to deal with those conditions of his. Our reputation will also be ruined. Zhang Yushu said worriedly. The two brothers discussed with furrowed brows. Suddenly, Zhang Qingfeng gritted his teeth and said, "Yushu, we can't not agree to this. But if we agree, if the other party manages to match it, we can only sacrifice the rook to save the king. Yushu, you're young and have a bright future ahead of you. You don't have to care about this. If he manages to match it, then I'll explain this matter. Then I'll say that this was all my idea, and it has nothing to do with you or the entire family. Sacrificing myself for the greater good, I think there should be no problem." "Big brother, what are you saying? This matter was originally operated by me. How can I let you take the blame?" Zhang Yushu was after all still young and inexperienced. When he suddenly heard his elder brother speak so righteously, his heart instantly warmed up and his blood surged. he blurted out. If anyone wants to go out, it should be me who goes out and admits it. What does it have to do with you? That's good. Zhang Qingfeng only hesitated for a moment and immediately agreed. He sighed and said, It's just that. I've wronged you, brother. But I also believe in your judgment. That Mo Junye's old tricks also means that he can't match it at all. He couldn't match it back then. Can he really do it in such a short time? Zhan Yushu had spoken rashly in a moment of rashness just now, and he was already feeling a little regretful in his heart. He didn't expect that his own elder brother did not even hesitate and immediately pushed all the blame onto him as if he couldn't wait. Right now, Zhan Yushu felt as if he had fallen into a trap. It was as if his big brother had dug a hole for him to jump into. Then, he quickly distanced himself from it. Was this still the big brother that he had always looked up to and respected? In an instant, Zhan Yushu felt as if he had suddenly eaten a dead rat. There was no need to mention that feeling of disgust in his heart. Mo Junyi, I agree to your conditions. I've also signed the blood oath scroll. Zhan Qingfeng looked at Jun Moxie with a cold smile. Now, isn't it time to show off your unparalleled literary talent? Jun Mo Xie jumped in fright and stammered, F***ck, you guys are actually willing to agree to such harsh conditions? Aren't you afraid that your Zhan family's reputation will be tarnished? Zhan Qingfeng laughed coldly. If we can use this kind of price to gain the defeat of a great prodigy with the free and natural physique, we feel that it's worth it. Mo Junyi, are you still trying to drag the time? Give us the second verse. Jun Mo Xie revealed an expression of being in a dilemma. He scratched his head and asked, then, what is the first part of the couplet? Zhan Qingfeng and his brother were even more certain that this fellow was finished. They couldn't help but laugh gleefully. Heaven as the chessboard, stars as the chess pieces, who can play it? Zhan Yushu instantly forgot about his earlier unhappiness and recited it out proudly. His cadence was extremely rhythmic, heaven as the chessboard, stars as the chess pieces. Heaven as the chessboard, stars as the chess pieces, AI. Jun Moxie furrowed his brows and paced back and forth. His brows furrowed tighter and tighter, and his face turned darker and darker. Miao Xiao Miao's heart was in her throat. You must match it, ah. If you can't match it, you'll have failed, and all your previous achievements will have gone down the drain. The consequences will be unimaginable. Everyone looked at this free and natural physique prodigy with some pity in their eyes. Such a prodigy that was proficient in everything was something that might not even appear in 10,000 years. But today, he had actually lifted a rock and smashed it on his own feet. He had told a story, and it had actually led him into a dead end. This kind of result really made one sigh with regret. Jun Moxie took 2 steps and stopped, looking up in deep thought. Then he shook his head and muttered, No, no. Then he shook his head again and continued pacing, deep in thought. The smiles on Zhan Yushu and Zhan Qingfeng's faces grew wider and wider, almost bursting out in laughter. The way they looked at this free and natural physique prodigy was like how a hunter would look at a prey that had fallen into a trap. Suddenly, got it! Jun Mo Xie shouted loudly. Then, he pretended to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead and said, I was so anxious that I almost went crazy. But, I finally thought of it. Actually, it's nothing much, I just need to think of the pass key. Why didn't I think of it back then? What a pity! Did you match it? What is the content of the second half of the couplet? Hurry up and say it. Mo Junyi, I'm telling you, I'm very clear about the importance of couplet. If you don't match it neatly, you'll still lose. Zhan Qingfeng chuckled and added another sentence to increase the pressure in his heart. You're talking nonsense. Couplets are about fairness and stability. Heaven versus earth, rain versus wind, land versus sky. Listen, this second half is... Jun Moxie dragged out his voice and said word by word. The earth as the pipa, the road as the strings, who dares to play? Boom. Everyone in the hall burst into an uproar. Truly, truly! Heaven as the chessboard, the stars as the chess pieces, who dares to play? The earth as the pipa, the road as the strings, who dares to play? Heaven versus earth, the chessboard versus the pipa, the stars as the road, the chess pieces as the strings, who dares to play? Who dares to play? Every single word was matched perfectly, and it was flawless and wonderful to the point of perfection. The first and second half were equally imposing, equally arrogant, equally disdainful of all living things. If a couplet like this could still be picked out and said to be unqualified, then there wouldn't be many neatly matched couplets left in this world. In that moment, everyone looked at Mo Junyi with a complicated gaze. Just what kind of person was this? He was simply a monster, a miracle. A Miao Xiao Miao's eyes shone brightly as she looked at Mo Junyi. Her heart was filled with joy and excitement, and she couldn't speak for a moment. When he couldn't match it, she was worried and anxious. But now that he managed to match it, and the brilliance of the second half of the couplet shocked her to the core. He was incomparably shocked. Did he really come up with this answer? I'm not dreaming, am I? How can he be so amazing? Why is he so amazing? What? Young Miss Miao's eyes were already showing signs of sparkling. June Moxie wiped his sweat, looking as if he had a lingering fear in his heart. He said proudly, "This first half of the couplet has troubled me for many years, and I couldn't match it all this time. Who would have thought that it would be like what the two young masters Jean said? Under such a special occasion and extreme pressure today, I actually made a breakthrough. If that's the case, I really have to thank the two young masters Jean. Ha, I'm really lucky." As soon as this sentence came out, everyone's face turned strange. If one were to say that it was showing off after getting a bargain, it didn't seem like it, but why did it taste so weird? In short, this feeling was inexplicable. The two Jean brothers' arrogance was long gone. Their faces were ashen as they looked at each other. In that moment they felt like dying. Just a moment ago, they were still gloating, thinking that this fellow had shot himself in the foot. But now, it seemed like who was the one who shot himself in the foot? The two brothers wanted to cry, but no tears came out. May I ask, did I match it well? It should be considered stable, right? June Moxie asked modestly. Zhang Qingfeng nodded stiffly. As for Zhang Yushu, he didn't even have the strength to nod anymore. He was in a daze. Then, shouldn't the two young masters Zhang tell us the truth that I asked earlier? June Moxie smiled strangely and reminded them. Please don't forget that the two of you swore an oath on your ancestors and descendants. Oaths are very strange things. Who knows when it might come true? Of course, if you don't care at all, you can also choose not to fulfill your promise. We admit defeat. Zhang Yushu's face turned red and white. He wanted to deny it several times, but this kind of oath, and it was made in front of so many people. How could he deny it? The moment he denied it, he would be disregarding his ancestors and descendants. This kind of crime, even the Zhang family would not have a place for him to live. Lin Qingyin's family is a musical family. Although they are masters of music, they do not engage in production. Their family business has declined, and they are slowly declining. Our Zhang family has already bought over half of the music halls in the Misty Mansion. If they want to continue living, they must listen to our orders. This young master only made things difficult for their clansmen in the music halls, making it difficult for them to continue living, and everything will be fine. Zhang Yushu's words caused a huge uproar. Chapter 955. As for Qi Wanjie, it's even simpler. Qi Wanjie is obsessed with fame and fortune. Although he already has the status of a chess king, he is still unsatisfied. I only promised to give him the position of a chess king in the Misty Mansion, and a huge manor in the center of Heart Fantasy City, equipped with 4 beautiful maids, and 100,000 taels of gold. He promised that he would send the Li family's young miss to his residence to become his wife, and he came. Furthermore, he promised that he would definitely defeat Mo Junyi. Only then would all these be counted. Zhang Yushu said in a tone as if he was going all out. In the crowd, Qi Wanjie's face was ashen, his lips trembling. Looking at the disdainful gazes coming from all around, Qi Wanjie clearly knew that his fate had completely changed with Zhang Yushu's words. He was already finished. All the hard work in the past, all the limitless glory at this moment, had nothing to do with him. Everything had turned into the past, into history. The world suddenly turned pitch black. Qi Wanjie's face turned pale, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Fainting, everyone present no longer cared about Qi Wanjie, this chess king who was destined to be past his prime. They were all stunned by the truth that Zhang Yushu had said. Just as Jun Moxie had predicted, Zhang Yushu had indeed shouldered everything on his own shoulders, completely cutting off all ties with the Zhang family, and even singled out Zhang Qingfeng. This person's temperament and courage could also be considered impressive. Just from his narration alone, it made people feel that all of this was done by him alone, and had nothing to do with the family at all. To be able to do this in such a situation was undoubtedly not easy. It was truly amazing. And on the other side, Zhang Qingfeng's face stiffened. Looking at his own younger brother, he didn't know what he was feeling. All of a sudden, Zhang Qingfeng charged forward and gave Zhang Yushu a heavy slap across his face. He roared angrily, "You beast! You actually did such a despicable thing! How can you do these things? Our Zhang family's thousands of years of reputation has been destroyed by you just like that. Do you know what you're doing? How can you be so shameless?" The slap landed, and blood spurted out from the corner of Zhang Yushu's mouth. His whole body was knocked to the ground by this sudden slap. Zhang Qingfeng cursed with great heartache, the veins on his forehead popping out. His heart was filled with anger and uncontrollable rage. After a long time, he finally let out a long sigh and said, "Our family is unfortunate. It is truly the misfortune of the family. Ah, Zhang Yushu, you've ruined the reputation of the Zhang family and tarnished the reputation of the Zhang family. I will not let this matter rest. Although I do not have the authority to punish you, it does not mean that you can escape from the punishment of the family law. When we return to the family, I want to see how you will face the questioning of father and the rest of the ancestors. The Zhang family's rules will not allow any descendant to taint the Zhang family's name." Miao Xiao Miao watched all of this coldly from the side. Her younger brother had stepped forward to shoulder all the blame, and the older brother had come forward to reprimand his younger brother with a righteous expression on his face. She suddenly felt that the show in front of her was extremely funny. From the initial shock to the current amusement, this kind of subtle change in mentality, even she herself did not feel it. This kind of method would not even be able to deceive ordinary people, much less these intelligent people here. Even if they did not expose it on the spot, how many people did not understand the underlying meaning behind it? Do you really think that everyone in the world is a fool, and only you two brothers are smart? If not for the full support of the Zhang family, Zhang Yushu would only be a youth in his 20s. Even if he had some abilities, he would not have the ability to threaten an aristocratic family, right? Nor would he promise so many things to Qi Wanjie. All of these were beyond the scope of Zhang Yushu's abilities. But even with such an obvious fact, the two brothers of the Zhang family still put on this big show. Because everyone knew it was one thing, but the attitude of the Zhang family was another. Zhang Qingfeng's impartial and righteous attitude, no matter how pretentious it was, no matter whether the people present believed it or not, this attitude had to be put on. Because even if most people did not believe Zhang Yushu's words about acting on his own, they might not expose this truth on the spot. There might even be some who would go against their conscience and say that this was all true, that second young Master Zhang's actions were all his own, and had nothing to do with the Zhang family at all. But what Miao Xiao Miao was thinking right now was, the Zhang family really had great foresight. Just a single Zhan Yushu was able to mobilize so many resources, and even protect the Zhan family at all costs. This kind of temperament, this kind of decisiveness, is not to be underestimated. On the other hand, how many people like this did the Miao family have? Since the Zhan family could bribe Qi Wanjie to threaten Lin Qingyin, then would they be able to coerce and bribe others? With their unscrupulous methods to achieve their goals, I might not be able to see through this kind of information, much less understand it completely. But when I return, I will definitely report this matter to grandfather and father in detail. With their experience, they will definitely be able to see the profundities within, and even analyze the possible hidden dangers. After the third round, the free and natural physique great prodigy Mo won again. And he even crippled the second young master of the Zhan family, Zhan Yushu, on the spot. This result caused all the contestants who were originally eager to go on stage to fall silent out of fear. Right now, everyone could tell that this free and natural physique Mo Junyi was not only a true prodigy, he was also a ruthless person who was not to be trifled with. The first thing he did was to beat up everyone, as if he was a country bumpkin. But every time he said a sentence, he would immediately grab onto someone's weak spot. The moment he caught you, congratulations, you're done for. He seemed to have another special characteristic, and that was that he would definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. To put it in simpler terms, he was a little petty. Whoever attacked him, he would attack. And his counterattack was so sharp that it caused one's hair to stand on end. From the start, he had never taken the initiative to provoke anyone. But he had always been preparing his counterattack. After calmly digesting your attack, he would immediately launch the most incisive counterattack. Every strike would hit, and every strike would hit. Every time he made a move, there would always be someone who would fall from their horse and be hit. Even the two brothers of the Zhan family were no exception. How much confidence and foundation did one need to be able to do this? In fact, just these alone were not enough. At the very least, one needed to be able to see through fire, to have precise control, and to be able to penetrate into things with extreme sensitivity. Not a single one of these could be omitted. This person was indeed the legendary free and natural physique. Facing such a pervert, what should they compete in next? It seemed like no one dared to step forward. Not only were the judges guessing, even Zhan Qingfeng himself could not make up his mind. All along, everyone had taken it for granted that although the free and natural physique was something of the legends, it was still just a miraculous physique for cultivating Xian Qi. Perhaps his Xian Qi cultivation speed would be rather abnormal, but the other aspects would definitely not be perfect. How could there be a perfect person, and it was even more impossible for him to be omniscient? But the grim reality before their eyes had taught everyone a lesson, and they understood an extremely terrifying understanding. They had indeed encountered a freak whose strength was unfathomable to the extreme. Mo Junyi, this fellow had the free and natural physique, but his Xian Qi cultivation was ordinary. Yet, he was actually so proficient in all sorts of miscellaneous knowledge, to the point of being so profound compared to those who cultivated Xian Qi. The most unorthodox skills were poetry, music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. But this fellow was different. He could be said to be a master of music, and his skills in chess were even better than those of the national level. His literary talent was unparalleled, and his quick-wittedness was not inferior to anyone. A group of people were scheming against him, but he was also scheming against a group of people. This person, as the elders said, cannot be measured with common sense. Zhan Yushu's face was swollen. Although there was resentment in his heart, he was more concerned about the outcome of this match. He sat on a chair at the corner of the arena, looking like a criminal, disheartened and disheartened. But he lowered his head and sent a voice transmission to his elder brother. This person is quite intelligent and quick-witted. Furthermore, He knows a lot about these miscellaneous things. If we suggest some orthodox methods of competition, we might fall into his trap again. The only thing we can do now is to try using an unorthodox method. Using an unorthodox method? Zhan Qingfeng muttered to himself. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. This person comes from a poor background and does not know any wealthy family. Such a person may be extremely talented and skilled in various skills, but deep down, he is definitely not a foppish person. Zhan Yushu's eyes were on the ground, but the voice that entered Zhan Qingfeng's ears was filled with viciousness. Since we do not have the confidence to defeat him using normal methods, then we can use common sense to compare some things that he does not know. For example, Zhan Qingfeng's eyes lit up even more. For example, the things that Silk Pants often play at his level, he will definitely not be able to come into contact with them. Things that Silk Pants often play with are nothing more than running dogs and cockfights, going to brothels. Zhan Yushu scoffed. In other words, gambling or prostitution or fighting. Gambling and fighting? Zhan Qingfeng was enlightened. Prostitution. This kind of situation naturally cannot be compared, but gambling is fine. And things like cockfights, dogs, snakes, crickets, and xian beasts can all be used. And we will definitely win and not lose. We don't have his talent, and we don't have his knowledge, but can our luck be worse than his? Can it be that he will be lucky for the rest of his life? Zhan Yushu laughed coldly. The original 7 matches: music, chess, calligraphy, poetry, wine, and tea. We've already lost 3 matches. As for the poetry match, we already know the result without a need to compete. As for calligraphy, there's no need to compete either. For him to have such knowledge, he must be a master of calligraphy. Since that's the case, then it's painting and wine? And a gamble? Zhan Qingfeng said uncertainly. No. There's no need to compare painting and wine. Seeing how he is so proficient in music, poetry, and books, he is definitely not a stranger to painting. As long as one is well educated, their understanding of wine will not be weak. Why don't we just give up and find a more confident method? Chapter 956. Zhan Yushu smiled smugly. This fellow is a penniless country bumpkin to begin with. If it's gambling, his mentality will definitely not be good. Even if he manages to pass by luck, there's still the final beast fighting. Things like cockfighting, dog-fighting, cricket fighting, although they are playthings of Silk Pants, they are still common. Just in case, we might as well skip it and go straight to the deepest level. Xian Beast. 2 rounds to determine the winner. Gambling, Xian Beasts? Good idea. Zhan Qingfeng perked up. Zhan Yushu's idea was extremely sinister. As everyone knew, zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting were all things that could cultivate one's temperament. Gambling, cockfighting, dog-fighting, and cricket fighting were things that only idle playboys would be proficient in. Generally, those who were fascinated by zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting thought highly of themselves. Most of them had very strict family upbringing, so they basically had no chance to come into contact with those dirty things. These were 2 completely different things from 2 different worlds. It was said that Mo Junyi did not come from a wealthy background. Then, to be able to learn so many things, it was probably the best he could do. If he were to surpass those so-called Silk Pants in the area of eating, drinking, and playing, that was absolutely impossible. There couldn't possibly be a person in this world who could mix fire and water, good and evil, and mix everything together, right? Having made up his mind, the smile on Zhan Qingfeng's face became relaxed again. He took a step forward and said with a smile, "Brother Mo is truly a genius, winning every battle. This Zhan is full of admiration for you. Next, I do not intend to waste any more of Brother Mo's time. Let's decide the winner with the next 2 rounds. Only the last 2 rounds. If Brother Mo wins both rounds, we will hand over the things that Brother Mo wants and the conditions that you propose. If Brother Mo loses, We will also fulfill the terms of the bet. How about that? Those 2 rounds? What exactly are we competing in? Jun Mosie tilted his head and looked at this fellow's fake smile. What kind of sinister trick is he up to now? The first round we'll gamble. Zhang Qingfeng's words made everyone feel like they were on the verge of collapsing. This first young Master Zhan, who had always been elegant, modest, and steady, had actually suggested gambling to decide the winner. Did I hear wrongly? Could it be that I'm dreaming? Why is everything I've seen and heard today so shocking? Miao Xiaomiao was even more surprised, but after thinking for a while, she immediately understood the Zhan brothers' wishful thinking. She couldn't help but frown as she cursed. Despicable! Gambling? Jun Moxie frowned. Did this guy see through my real identity and turn to flatter me? Why is he better than me in whatever I'm good at? Every match was delivered to my heart. Just now I was really afraid that this brat would ask someone to compete with me in calligraphy. Brother's calligraphy is only of high quality, far from being considered a master. Damn it, if you really have the brains to find a male tailor to compete with me in embroidery, or a woman to compete with me in childbirth, then wouldn't I have admitted defeat long ago? Why do you have to challenge this young master in the field that I'm best at? Am I saying that you're stupid or that you're acting with me? Brother doesn't remember bribing this brat before me. Yes, it's gambling. The 2 of us will bet 10 million taels of silver each. The limit is 20 rounds, and the winner will be determined by the amount of silver the other party possesses. Zhang Qingfeng's eyes were fixed on Jun Moxie's face, not letting go of any expression, afraid that he would pick the field that the other party was good at. Although the possibility of this was not high, after observing for a while, Zhang Qingfeng finally relaxed. The shock on the other party's face did not seem to be fake. Looks like this suggestion of mine is really out of his expectations. Since it's out of his expectations, then it's good, very good. Zhang Qingfeng smiled vaguely. He had already set up many schemes, and even had a strategy for the wager. He would definitely win this round. But what he did not know was that while Jun Moxie's accident this time was real, it was definitely not because he did not know how to gamble. It was because he was really too proficient in this field. Just as Zhang Qingfeng had thought, the winner of this round was already decided. How exactly are we going to bet? Jun Moxie acted like a foreigner. Each person has 1 card, and we'll see who's bigger or smaller? Zhang Qingfeng almost laughed out loud. F*ck, he's really a newbie. No. We'll compete in dice, and the winner will be determined by the total number of points on the dice. Zhang Qingfeng said in a deep voice. There will be a total of 20 rounds. Each round will start with 1 million taels of silver, and we'll continue until we lose everything. That's simple, isn't it? Just dice? I know how to do it. Jun Moxie rubbed his palms together. But I haven't played with this for so many years. Right, let me tell you, young Master Zhan, this young master has the greatest luck when it comes to getting money. I like this kind of easy money the most. Later on, don't cry because I win. There are so many people here watching. If I win, that'll be too embarrassing. And 1 round of 1 million. I don't have any gambling capital. Where will I get so much money? Should I go home and ask Holy Emperor Chao for some? I'll lend it to you. I'll lend it to you. These words came from the mouths of 2 people at the same time. They were Zhang Qingfeng and Miao Xiaomiao. The difference was that Zhang Qingfeng's tone was filled with the joy of prey finally falling into his carefully laid trap, while Miao Xiaomiao's tone was filled with indescribable worry. Since Miss Miao trusts me so much, then I'll temporarily borrow 10 million from Miss Miao. If I win later, I'll naturally return you double the amount. Since he already owed Miao Xiaomiao so many favors, then Jun Moxie didn't mind owing a little more. In any case, I'll return this favor in double. If I help you resolve the potential danger of the Misty Mansion in the future, then just treat it as a gift from me in return for a plum. Looking at the dice cups that were brought out, Everyone present was petrified. After a long time, Zhang Qingfeng stared dumbly at the empty table in front of him. Then he looked at the thick pile of banknotes in front of Mo Junyi. Zhang Qingfeng was about to go crazy. Just like Jun Dashao's prophecy earlier, he was really about to cry. He completely didn't know how he lost. Zhang Qingfeng only felt that his mind was completely blank. In the earlier few rounds, he had clearly won every single round, and the other party was only left with 2 million taels of silver. He had won 8 rounds in a row, and the outcome was already clear. He had even mocked the other party. Why was the legendary side fortune not working? Today, he didn't get a windfall, but he was going to give away a windfall. He could have clearly won 2 more rounds, but why did the situation suddenly change in the last 2 rounds? He had actually lost 2 rounds in a row, and he was still wondering if this fellow really had some dog *T side fortune. But in the next 16 rounds, he didn't even win a single round. Especially in the last few rounds, in order to turn defeat into victory, he increased the stakes, intending to win in 1 round. But it was all to no avail. In a daze, he had lost all the banknotes he had brought with him. A whole 50 million taels of silver. Speaking of which, it was strange. The two of them were sitting so close to each other, and there were so many judges watching from the side. Any one of them was not a mediocre person. Even if a holy emperor were to use Xianqi to cheat here, they would be able to detect it. There was absolutely no possibility of luck. This meant that in the entire process, no one had used Xianqi to cheat. But the other party had won like a hot knife through butter. This fellow's movements in throwing the dice were obviously not accurate, and could even be said to be jerky, but with just a casual throw, he was able to get a bigger number than him. There was even a time when he had thrown a 6, 6, and 5. This was basically as big as the sky. But the other party's wrist had loosened, and the dice had spun a few rounds, and it was actually 3 sixes. Could it be that there was something wrong? Or perhaps the other party really had some side fortune. You've lost. On the other side, Mo Junye's excited voice rang out. Following that, Mo Junye was seen waddling towards Miao Xiao Miao with the banknotes in his arms. Miss Miao, it's all thanks to your 10 million taels. Otherwise, I would have really made a fool of myself. I've said before that if I win, I will definitely return you double the amount. Here, this is 30 million taels with interest. Miss Miao, please check and accept it, ha ha. It was indeed double the amount. Other than the 10 million taels, there was also another 20 million taels of banknote. It was truly a huge sum of money. Of course, this was only half of the bet. In order to turn the tables, young Master Zhan had lost a total of 50 million taels of banknote. Including the 10 million taels that Miao Xiao Miao had lent out, wasn't half of that 30 million taels of banknotes? Jun Mo Xie decided to split it into 2 and 1, making it 5 for each of them. 30 million taels, this was a rather shocking sum. Apart from exclaiming in shock, everyone sighed in regret. Why didn't they lend this great prodigy Mo some money just now? With such a small amount of effort, he had already made a profit of 200%. Brother Mo, today, you've really left me at a loss for words. Miao Xiao Miao smiled bitterly. Her face was filled with a complicated and indescribable look of astonishment. Actually, I was also sweating profusely just now. Didn't you see how I lost at the start? I almost lost everything. But my side fortune came back in time, and naturally, I went on a killing spree. Let me tell you a secret, I'm actually not very good at gambling. But when my luck comes, I can still defeat any opponent. Jun Moxie's words almost caused the dazed Zhang Qingfeng to faint. Facing such a fellow, he completely couldn't understand how he could have lost. No matter how one looked at it, this fellow's techniques did not have any skill at all. Every single move was completely that of a novice. But he could actually win. He was someone who had gone through countless trials and tribulations. In order to train his mental state, he often went to casinos. Even if he hid his identity, he would still return with a bountiful harvest. Even if his gambling skills were not at the level of the so-called god of gamblers, it was definitely not far from it. At the very least, no one here today was a better gambler than him. But the result was, could it be that he was actually defeated by someone purely relying on luck? Side fortune? Is there really such a thing? No matter how Zhang Qingfeng couldn't understand it, the result was that he had lost. And he had lost in such a ridiculous manner, and lost a shocking sum of 50 million taels of silver. And in the end, he even lost 4 out of 5 hopes. Right now, the Zhang family could no longer care about that huge sum of money. They had already placed all their hopes on the last round. Xian Beast Battle. Chapter 957. 5th Round, Betting on Xian Beast. Xian Beast Battle. Zhang Qingfeng was practically gritting his teeth as he spat out these words. Right now, Zhang Qingfeng could no longer care about his face. Right now, it was the final battle with his back against the wall. If he lost, even the 2 brothers wouldn't be able to bear the consequences of this. How could they still care about their face? Right now, their only hope was that this Mo Jun would not know how these spoiled brats played. Even if he knew, he shouldn't be too proficient in it. Because they really could not afford to lose but this Xian Beast battle was also very skillful. There were also traces of manipulation in it. Even if they had to cheat, they had to win this last round. Xian Beast battle? The corners of Jun Moxie's mouth twitched. He almost burst out laughing. Which side was this guy on? Even if he betrayed his own family, he wouldn't do it like this. This was a blatant betrayal. F***ck, you want me, the king of Tian Fa Forest, this young master who possesses the art of unlocking heaven's fortune that all Xian beasts covet, to have a Xian beast battle with you? Is there such a joke in this world? That's right. Xian beast battle. Zhang Qingfeng glared at him fiercely. His eyes were already bloodshot. The 4 consecutive rounds were really too humiliating. Just now, he clearly had victory in his hands, but why was the tables turned by the other party? In the end, he even suffered a huge loss. He even had an inexplicable intuition that no matter what he competed in, it was all within the other party's expectations. This was no longer him setting up a trap. Instead, it was as if he had fallen headfirst into Mo Jun's trap. I don't object to fighting that Xian Beast battle, but how do we fight this Xian Beast? And I don't have that thing Jun Moxie really didn't understand this time. Jun Dashao was indeed the king of Tian Fa Forest, but he really didn't know anything about the so-called battle between Xian Beasts. I'll have someone send the Xian Beast over later. Don't worry, the Xian Beasts we're fighting are small and of a lower grade. If the Xian Beasts are of a higher grade, just their aura alone will be enough to determine the victor. Then there's no need to compete. Zhang Qingfeng said. As for the Xian Beasts participating in the competition, they're all Xian Beasts from the Beast Arena. I'm not the one feeding it personally. Otherwise, it would be unfair. If that's the case, the rules are that you and I will each pick one beast and have a duel between us. Jun Moxie asked. Not bad. Zhang Qingfeng laughed coldly. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Choosing a Xian beast is also an art. If he lost, he could only blame himself for his poor judgment. If he won, it would be pure luck. This was because most of the dark beasts that would be transported here looked exactly the same. They were of the same size, rank, and even the color of their fur was the same. I'm really interested to know if Great Prodigy Mo's side fortune will always be so bright. Whether it will be bright or not will be clear in a while. What I want to know now is, how does the so-called beast duel determine the winner and loser? Jun Moxie frowned. After both parties confirm that they have chosen their beasts, 2 circles of different colors will be painted on the heads of the 2 Xian beasts to indicate the difference. After the duel ends, the winner lives and the loser dies. It will naturally be clear who wins and who loses, Zhang Qingfeng said. As he explained, his heart slowly relaxed. At the same time, he was secretly elated. From the looks of it, this Mo Junyi really did not know the trick to this beast duel. Otherwise, how could he not know such a basic rule? Looks like this round was really in his grasp. He had lost 4 rounds in a row. In the 4th round, he had clearly held a huge advantage but was turned around by the opponent. Right now, Zhang Qingfeng was really a little afraid of losing. Even this round that he was so confident of winning, he was starting to feel uneasy. So that's how it is. I understand now. Jun Dashao nodded. In this period of time, there were already people who had rushed to the beast duel arena to arrange for the Xian beasts to be transported here. There were so many important people watching. Could it be that all of them had to travel over? That was a little illogical. Besides, with the family background of any one of these young masters present, it was really a small matter for them to make the owner of a small beast duel arena listen to their orders. During this period of waiting, Miao Xiao Miao impatiently pulled Jun Moxie aside and explained some of the rules and requirements of beast duel to him. Although time was tight, it was better to sharpen one's spear at the last minute. Zhang Qingfeng looked on coldly from the side, pretending to be magnanimous, but in his heart he was secretly amused. This Xian beast duel was also a subject that required a lot of skill. Those low-level Xian beasts that did not have their own aura were basically the same in terms of strength. It all depended on the beast duelist's commands and the teasing of the contestants' battle awareness. These specialized skills, if one did not have a few years of nurturing and did not throw in a large sum of money as school fees, it was very difficult to learn. Didn't you see people outside the beast duel arena committing suicide after losing all their money? Those people were all seniors and experts in beast duel. If they were not experts, they would not be so confident in betting their lives. The reason why Zhang Qingfeng felt that victory was in his grasp was because other than the Xian Qi that the Zhang family usually cultivated, there was also an ancient manual passed down from many years ago, the Xian Beast Arts. This was one of the few special cultivation manuals that the 9 Nether first young master, the first master of the Misty Mansion, had secretly hidden away when his disciple burned all the outer sect martial arts in the world. Later on, when the 8 great families of the Misty Illusory Manor rose to power, the old ancestor took out the 8 secret manuals for the 8 great families to choose from in order to raise the abilities of his descendants, and also to make use of the stones of other mountains to improve the jadeite. At that time, this Xian Beast Arts was the most useless of all the martial arts. After all, it was just a different kind of mental cultivation method. It had no use in facing enemies or in killing battles. But at that time, the Zhang family was only the weakest family that had just climbed up the ranks of the 8 great families in the Misty Mansion. Left with no choice, they could only pick up the least valuable manual. It was better than nothing. But after a few thousand years, this phenomenon underwent a fundamental change. It was because of this Xian Beast Arts that the people of the Zhang family were able to obtain the special effect of being intimate with Xian beasts after cultivating it. Although the content was limited and could only be used on Xian beasts below level 8, it still brought the Zhang family an endless source of wealth. And the Zhang family had relied on this seemingly useless Xian Beast Arts to rise step by step in the Misty Mansion until they had such a glorious and decisive position now. One had to know that no matter which world, the economy was a dominant force. With money, one could do things that most people could not do or even think of. The Zhang family was basking in the glory of being rich. With such a miraculous skill, the Zhang family had an advantage in all aspects related to Xian beasts in the Misty Mansion. Beast battles were naturally one of the biggest advantages. Even if it was a slightly weaker Xian beast, as long as it was trained by the Zhang family, it would be able to defeat an enemy a level higher than itself. And it was precisely because of this advantage that Zhang Yushu made this suggestion. and this kind of situation was not a big or small secret in the Misty Mansion. But as the Manor Lord's granddaughter, Miao Xiao Miao naturally knew about it. So she was even more worried now. Mo Junyi did not know about this in the first place. And now, the Zhan family had such a huge advantage. As the weak against the strong, how could they have the slightest chance of winning? For a moment, Miao Xiao Miao was really worried. Because she really could not see any hope of Mo Junyi winning this time. This time, it was completely different from the previous few times. In the previous few times, it could be said that she had used her own foundation and luck to win. But this time, no matter how much luck she had, it was all for naught. The other party had absolute strength. Miao Xiao Miao sighed deeply. Miss Miao, what's wrong? June Moxie was listening to her explanation absent-mindedly. Seeing her sigh, he couldn't help but ask. The Zhan family is really despicable, you don't know. Miao Xiao Miao sighed and recounted the entire incident. Finally, she frowned and said, in this last round, it can be said that there is no chance of winning at all, it can't be? Could it be that the Zhan family is this powerful? The same Xian beast can become different in their hands? How is this possible? June Moxie asked uncertainly. It's true. In this world, there are only things that can't be imagined, but there is nothing that can't be done. The Zhan family just has this kind of ability. Miao Xiao Miao looked at him worriedly. Wanting to win this round with luck. That's completely impossible. The Zhan family suggested this round to dispel all your hopes of winning by luck. They want to use their own strength to defeat you. Not necessarily, not necessarily. If it was anything else, June Moxie might admit defeat. But in the field of Xian beasts, if June Moxie said that he was number 2 in the world, then even the 9 nether first young master might not dare to say that he was number 1 in the world. As for this last round, June Moxie had 100 million confidence that he would definitely win. What the Zhan family could do was at most stir up the emotions of the Xian beast. What's the big deal? This young master can make a Xian beast advance in the blink of an eye compete with me? What dog*t is the Zhan family? At most, they're just a *t stick, making themselves more and more smelly. See how this young master plays with them until they're crippled. While waiting, everyone was also discussing. Everyone present, including the judges, felt that the Zhan family would definitely win this round. There would definitely be no accidents. The expressions of Zhan Qingfeng's group finally turned insolent again. So what if you have the legendary free and natural physique? So what if you win the first 4 rounds? As long as you lose this last round, you're still finished. The winner is king and the loser is a thief. However, who was the one with the winning ticket in their hands? Chapter 958. Fourth update. Everyone was looking forward to it. Only June Moxie was half sitting and half lying on the chair, chatting with Miao Xiao Miao. Miss Miao, don't you find it inconvenient to wear this veil? June Moxie asked. Inconvenient? No. Why do you ask? Miao Xiao Miao looked at him strangely. I always feel that this veil should not be worn for too long. You see, it's spring now and the wind is strong. Wearing a veil is very beautifying. But I can't wear it every day, right? That would be bad for the skin. The spring wind, summer rain, autumn frost, and winter snow are all gifts from the heavens. Even one's appearance needs to be tempered in the wind, frost, snow, and rain. Only then can one's true beauty be revealed. Brother Mo's words are reasonable, but this veil, it's hard to explain in a few words. Miao Xiao Miao sighed lightly. Haha, just looking at young lady's face is enough to enchant my soul. If one day, I can see young lady's beautiful face under your veil, how fortunate would that be? June Moxie rubbed his nose. Seeing that the other party didn't want to talk about the veil, he had nothing to say to pass the time, so he could only flatter him and shut up. But as soon as he said this, he saw that Miao Xiao Miao's eyes suddenly shyly avoided his gaze. Even through a layer of white gauze, he could clearly see that Meow Xiao Meow's white jade-like face was burning red. Very quickly, even his neck had turned red. Several people who heard his words looked at Jun Emosia as if they were looking at a monster. Some of the youngsters looked at Jun Emosia as if they were looking at their father's murderer. In fact, it seemed as if they wanted to pounce on him and bite him. What's going on? Did I say something wrong? Jun Emosia scratched his head. He was somewhat puzzled. I only praised her once. Is there a need for you to be so agitated? After coming to the Misty Mansion, may I ask how many young girls Brother Emo has seen? Meow Xiao Meow simply didn't answer this question that she didn't know how to answer. He asked in return. Her face and eyes were still slowly filled with shyness, but her tone of voice had already been forced to calm down. Jun Emosia stared blankly for a moment. Then, he suddenly remembered that he had neglected this most unusual phenomenon. Ever since he came to Misty Mansion, he had never seen a young girl. When he was in Chao Guofeng's courtyard, he could naturally ignore it. But what puzzled him was that ever since he came to Heart Fantasy City, he actually did not see a single one. If he had to count, apart from Meow Xiao Meow, there was also Little Bean Sprout. Don't tell me that the girls in the Misty Mansion don't shop? He had seen a few women on the street, and they all seemed to be aunties. What's going on? Looking at the doubt in Jun Moxie's eyes, Meow Xiao Meow laughed and said, Young master is originally not a member of this mansion, so it's reasonable that you don't know the reason. In our Misty Mansion, we take things very seriously. Unmarried girls are usually not allowed to go out. Even if they go out occasionally, they have to wear a veil. Even in their own homes, they have to wear a veil when they meet unfamiliar guests. Some families that take this very seriously will have their girls wear a veil after the age of 13. Even their biological father cannot see them. Only after they find their lifelong partner and get married, their husband will personally take off their veil. From then on, they don't need to wear it anymore. Jun Dashao was a little embarrassed. Dashao never thought that his casual words would directly involve a girl's privacy and lifelong happiness. Now it was really, in our Misty Mansion, there is a poem like this circulating. Meow Xiao Meow's eyes were a little hazy, and she slowly recited, Girls in their 20s are graceful and graceful, like a snow-white gauze, a lifetime of love. In this life they will not look twice, looking at the time of the lover, they will be destined for 3 lifetimes. Jun Moxie opened his eyes wide, and his mouth opened wide. He felt that he was simply a pig. If she wore a veil, then so be it. It's her own business. Why do you have a mouth? Of all people, he had to ask. Now that he had asked, he might just get himself into big trouble, really big trouble. Of course, Jun Dashao understood the meaning of this poem. He was actually not unfamiliar with this so-called custom, because it was said that some ethnic minorities in the grassland were like this. It was a bit similar to the meaning of the groom removing the bride's red veil on the wedding night. Meow Xiao Meow's dreamy voice came again, and he only heard her saying softly, In our Misty Mansion, almost all the girls are hoping that the one who can remove their white gauze is the one they love. If so, then it's the happiest moment for them. Otherwise, it's the arrival of a nightmare. As she spoke, her eyes were looking at Jun Moxie's eyes, with tenderness and expectation. Not knowing whether she was looking forward to the dreams of all the girls in the Misty Mansion, or thinking about it for herself, Brother Mo. Meow Xiao Meow's eyes suddenly became hot, and she bravely looked at Jun Dashao and gritted her teeth. If Brother Mo really wants to see the true face of Xiao Meow, then, Jun Moxie's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly felt that his mouth was dry. Oh my God, is this really going to cause a big trouble? What should I do now? Say that I don't want to see it anymore? Even if you beat me to death, I won't see it? Then I will definitely be hated by Miss Meow for the rest of her life, and she will be sad for the rest of her life. She might even be hunted by the Meow family, and the good situation that he had painstakingly built up in the misty mansion would be destroyed in an instant. But say that I want to see it? That won't do. Miss Meow has the heart, but I don't. This thing is not something that can be done with just one willing, and I'm not that beast. My mouth is so cheap that I have nothing else to say. Save me, please. Meow Xiao Meow's heart was beating like a little deer at this moment. She naturally didn't know what this Mo Junyi meant by asking this question. Did he really not know that there was such a custom in the Misty Mansion? Or was he just taking the opportunity to confess to me? If he really didn't know, what should I do? On the contrary, if he really confessed to me with the power of defeating the Jean brothers, and I rejected him, would he suffer a huge blow because of this? There won't be any more chances. Thinking about it, Meow Xiao Meow's heart was filled with all sorts of emotions. For a moment, she didn't even know what she was thinking. She only felt that there were a myriad of thoughts in her heart, and she couldn't cut them off and sort them out. After thinking about it for a long time, she made up her mind and thought, my life is in the Misty Mansion, but I've seen all the young masters of the 8 great families in the Misty Mansion. Although some of them are not bad, they still lack some feelings. If I were to entrust my life to those people, I would really rather not marry for the rest of my life. And this Mo Junyi, who had the legendary free and natural physique, had caused a commotion in the Misty Mansion ever since he arrived. Not only was his future prospects extremely promising, just the talent and knowledge that he had displayed was enough to make one gasp in amazement. His demeanor and temperament were even more likable. Moreover, there was a faint natural and refreshing smell on his body that made one feel comfortable from the bottom of one's heart the moment one smelled it, although this person's looks were too ordinary, but she could feel that he was definitely a person that she could entrust her life to. If you don't like this kind of person, Xiao Miao, Xiao Miao, what kind of person do you still want to like? What are you still hoping for? The opportunity is right in front of you. If you don't grasp it, it will disappear in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, as she grew older, there were more and more people coming to the family to propose marriage. If it wasn't for the fact that the matter with the spiritual herbal gardens hadn't come to fruition, her marriage might have already been decided. If there was a day when the elders in the family suddenly loosened their stance and betrothed her to someone for the sake of the family's interests, then it would be too late for regrets. She might as well make use of this opportunity to decide on her marriage. If there was really someone in the family who had made arrangements for her, having someone she liked would be the biggest reason to reject. Even if she couldn't be together with him in the end, but with such a soul-stirring memory like today, would she still be able to fancy any other man in this life? Although they had only known each other for a short period of time and didn't know each other very well, with the heart of a young girl, she could totally feel that this Mo Junyi was definitely not a bad person. It was rare that he had once risked the world to warn her. And now, he was like fire and water with the Jean family. Just Chao Guofeng alone might not be able to protect him. When she thought about how Mo Junyi might fall under the Jean family's schemes, Miao Xiao Miao felt an inexplicable and intense pain in her heart. This pain made Miao Xiao Miao firm in her decision. She raised her eyes to look at Mo Junyi. She saw that his face was filled with anxiety and his eyes were a little dazed. His forehead was covered in cold sweat as he stared at her blankly, waiting for her reply, as if he was especially concerned about her reply. There was both helplessness and an indescribable desire in his heart. This man actually cares so much about my feelings. Miao Xiao Miao's heart skipped a beat. She felt a surge of sweetness in her heart and her face instantly turned red. It's easy to find a priceless treasure, but it's hard to find a lover. Forget it, I'll let this silly bag be the one to remove my veil. It seemed like Jun Moxie was indeed very eager for Miao Xiao Miao's feelings, although his motive was completely different from what Miss Miao had imagined. Jun Dashao's heart was beating like a drum. My dear lady, don't say half a sentence like that. What exactly do you want to say? What do you mean? But I'm so anxious. Don't agitate me any more. My little heart can't take your strong agitation. This veil, I really can't take it off. There's a bunch of jealous people in the family. If I really remove it, how can I live when I go back? Especially since Shui Yan's martial arts are similar to mine now. If she wants to torture me, I won't even dare to fight back. Then my days will be dark. I beg you to let me go. It's a pity that I haven't even seen what you look like. Heavens, earth, gods and Buddhas, please open your eyes and let this lowly person go. As June Dashao was praying to the heavens, Miao Xiao Miao finally opened her mouth. However, when she spoke, she lowered her head tightly. June Moxie could clearly see that this number one beauty of the Misty Mansion had turned red. Her voice was even softer than a mosquito's buzzing. Chapter 959. June Mo Xie's body trembled, and he stood dumbstruck like a wooden chicken. He used his tongue to lick his lips, and felt that they were incomparably dry. He spoke with great difficulty. What? He groaned inwardly. What I'm afraid of really happens. Oh my God! What should I do? Isn't this asking for my life? But his expression and actions, in the eyes of Miao Xiao Miao, seemed to be an expression of extreme surprise. Look at him, he's actually so surprised that he can't even speak. Just now, when he was fighting against Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu, he was so eloquent. She raised her head and rolled her eyes at him shyly. Miao Xiao Miao hurriedly turned her head away and drew circles on the ground with her feet. She said softly, "Idiot, you're really an idiot." How would she know that the moment she said that, June Dashao actually had the urge to admit defeat? Something that the Zhan family couldn't accomplish even after gathering so much manpower, resources and money, was almost accomplished with just a few words from young Miss Miao. June Dashao seemed to have really turned into an idiot now. His eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. It wasn't that he was a feast for the eyes. After all, Dashao wasn't that desperate. It was just that he was too shocked. Could this be the legendary saying that it was the hardest to accept a beauty's favor? What a sin! Right now, young Master June felt like crying, but no tears would come out. I swear, I really didn't come here to develop a harem. My original goal was just to get some rainbow holy fruit. Although I'm a bit greedy now, and want a rainbow holy fruit tree, that's it. I really don't have any other intentions. Could it be that I really want to become poor because of the word greedy? After 1,000 days of hitting a goose, I've finally been pecked in the eye by the goose. I wonder if the current June Dashao is considered to have gotten the better end of the deal. Is he still trying to show off? Just as Miao Xiao Miao locked her burning and expectant gaze on June Moxie, it was also the moment when June Moxie was at a loss. His savior had finally arrived. Mo Jun Yi, great prodigy Mo, the Xian beasts for the beast fights have arrived. How much longer do you want to delay this? Zhan Qingfeng's words actually caused June Moxie to have the urge to hug him and give him a big kiss. The heavens took pity on him. Someone had finally helped him out of this predicament. Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu were filled with jealousy as they looked at this man and woman standing opposite each other. Especially Zhan Qingfeng. He was so furious that his chest was about to explode. Miao Xiao Miao was the person he had his eyes on back then. Others might not know what Miao Xiao Miao looked like under the veil, but he was an exception. Of course, young Master Zhan also did not know what Miao Xiao Miao looked like. But Zhan Qingfeng deeply remembered that 8 years ago, the 11-year-old Miao Xiao Miao had already displayed a stunning beauty. At that time, Miao Xiao Miao was already stunning enough. Although she was still a little immature back then, Zhan Qingfeng absolutely believed that in the entire Misty Mansion, there was definitely no other girl who could be more beautiful than Miao Xiao Miao. In fact, the news of Miao Xiao Miao being the number one beauty of the Misty Mansion was also spread by Zhan Qingfeng after a while back then. Right now, Miao Xiao Miao had already grown up. Just by looking at her limpid eyes, it was already enough to cause the downfall of nations and cities. The reason why Meow Xiao Meow was listed as the third person not to be trifled with in the Misty Mansion was not entirely because of the Meow family behind her, nor was it because of how unruly she was. The biggest reason was that once she was trifled with, the amiable young Miss Meow Xiao Meow would not do anything or even mind. But her pursuers would definitely have the ability to make the life of the person who trifled with Meow Xiao Meow feel a fate worse than death. Even the entire family and background of the person would be devoured cleanly by those pursuers. How could the princess of the Misty Mansion be ordinary? How could he allow such a peerless beauty to fall into someone else's arms in front of him? No. Absolutely not. Although Zhan Qingfeng's family already had many wives and concubines, and he even had children, this did not hinder his ambitions towards Meow Xiao Meow. It could even be said that before today, all of his pretense had been extremely successful. Besides, although the Meow family was still the most outstanding family in the Misty Mansion, it was already showing signs of decline. If the Zhan family wanted to replace it with the current situation, it was not impossible. At that time, wouldn't Meow Xiao Meow still have to do whatever he wanted? The flames of jealousy in Zhan Qingfeng's heart burned fiercely. So when he heard the carriage outside, he immediately spoke up and interrupted the ambiguous conversation between June Moxie and Meow Xiao Meow. Although this was an extremely impolite action, he couldn't be bothered about it right now. He had long regarded Meow Xiao Meow as his private property. Anyone who dared to lay a finger on her was an enemy who had the chance to make him a cuckold. His second brother, Zhan Yushu, and this Mo Junyi before him were the same. There was only one way to deal with enemies like this: get rid of them as soon as possible. At the very least, he had to completely cut off any possible future development between him and Meow Xiao Meow. Oh? They've arrived so quickly? Young Master Zhan's subordinates are really efficient, ah. June Moxie turned around cooperatively, and his expression instantly regained its liveliness. At this time, a voice rang out from the entrance of the hall. Young Master, the people from the Xian Beast Field have arrived. May I ask if you want them to come in now? Everyone has been waiting impatiently for a long time. Hurry up and ask them to scram in. Zhan Qingfeng frowned and shouted. The depression and irritation in his heart had already caused this usually calm and collected young Master Zhan to be on the verge of exploding. How could he still care about his demeanor? Following a wave of commotion, a few horse carriages entered drifting fragrance in. A fat middle-aged man walked up to Zhan Qingfeng with a face full of smiles and bowed. Young Master Zhan, haha, this lowly one didn't know which Xian beasts you needed, so I brought 5 or 6 of each type of 3rd and 4th level Xian beast suitable for battle. I hope that you will be satisfied, you've done well. But there's no need for so many. Just leave all the 4th level cat-bodied Xian beasts behind. A glint flashed across Zhan Qingfeng's eyes as he instructed. Cat-bodied Xian tiger? June Moxie furrowed his brows. He had stayed in Tian Fa for quite some time, but he really hadn't heard of this type of Xian beast called cat-bodied tiger. Could it be that it was a Xian beast unique to the Misty Mansion? Brother Mo came to the Misty Mansion from the outside world, so perhaps you don't know about cat-bodied tigers. Allow me to explain it to Brother Mo, so that Brother Mo can have a general idea of this type of Xian beast. Zhan Qingfeng smiled and said, Cat-bodied tigers are an extremely adorable type of animal. They are a unique type of Xian beast unique to the Misty Mansion. They are only the size of an ordinary kitten, but they have the characteristics of a tiger, ferocious, bloodthirsty, and extremely territorial. Although they can only reach the 4th level, their aggressive nature far surpasses that of ordinary Xian beasts. For example, the green fur tiger, which is also a 4th level Xian beast, is restrained by them. So that's how it is. Many thanks for young Master Zhan's guidance. June Moxie nodded his head politely. But in his heart, he thought to himself, I don't care if you're a cat-bodied tiger or a dog-bodied tiger. As long as you're under this young master, any Xian beast is the same. Following Zhang Qingfeng's command, a few burly men from the beast battle arena walked in with a small cage in their hands, placing them in the center of the arena. A total of 6 small cages were brought in, and each cage contained an animal with colorful fur that looked like a tabby cat. The moment they were placed together, these originally lazy and naive little animals immediately sensed the presence of their own kind. In an instant, all the fur on their bodies stood up on end. They stood up with a schwa sound, their backs arched, and a ferocious glint shone in their eyes. A mouthful of sharp teeth protruded from their mouths, and a low growl came from their throats. It was obvious that they were trying to show off their strength. Their 2 hind legs were also kicking the ground with all their might, as if they were ready to pounce at any moment and attack these fellows who dared to trespass into their territory. Each of these cat-bodied tigers only weighed about 10 jin at most, but on their foreheads there was a king character that was clearly visible. Although they were small, the aura of a king was extremely awe-inspiring, as expected of the most ferocious 4th-level Xian beast. It's truly worthy of its name. Jun Moxie was genuinely surprised. To be fair, Brother Mo, please choose first. Zhang Qingfeng said generously. Actually, these cat-bodied tigers' battle strength was about the same. There wouldn't be too much of a difference no matter who chose first. But the most important thing was that no matter which one Zhang Qingfeng chose, the battle strength of that cat-bodied tiger would increase by 2-fold after he infused his unique Xian beast mantra into that cat-bodied tiger. The strength of that cat-bodied tiger that was infused with a special Xian Qi would rise from the original 4th level to the 5th level. The difference of 1 level was already an irreversible chasm. This was the greatest advantage that Zhang Qingfeng, and the entire Zhang family, had over the Xian beasts in the Misty Mansion. Since Brother Zhang is so modest, then I shall accept it. Then, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Jun Mo smiled and slowly walked over. When the 6 cat-bodied tigers saw that someone was walking over, they all let out low growls and gritted their teeth, as if warning the person not to come near. If anyone dared to come near, they would have to pay the price in blood. In truth, cat-bodied tigers were naturally belligerent. Existences with low Xian Qi like Great Prodigy Mo were completely disregarded by them. Zhang Qingfeng pretended to be generous and let Mo Junyi choose first. It was not without the intention of watching him make a fool of himself. If Mo Junyi was accidentally bitten or clawed by a cat-bodied tiger, it would really be a huge joke. It was a pity that Jun Moxie did not seem to feel the threat of the cat-bodied tiger at all. He did not even bother to choosing the one closest to him. Chapter 960. Everyone present was in an uproar. Why was beast gambling the same as fighting chickens and dogs? There was such a huge difference between the two. What do you mean by roughly equal strength and relying on luck? Bullshit. Everyone here was a veteran player, and with a single look, they could tell that the one that the free and natural physique Great Prodigy Mo had chosen based on his intuition was the smallest of the 6 cat-bodied tigers. Its weight was also at least half a jin lighter than the others, perhaps even more. 1 jin, it might not matter if it was on other Xian beasts. To a fully grown cat-bodied tiger that weighed around 10 jin or so, suddenly losing half a jin of weight. That was an enormous difference. Was this Great Prodigy Mo Junyi intentionally trying to avoid winning, or what? They had clearly seen young Miss Meow giving him pointers earlier. This was the most basic knowledge. There was no way she wouldn't explain it to him. Of course, there were also some who knew about the Zhang family's background. But they also knew that even if Mo Junyi had chosen the weakest cat-bodied tiger, even if he was lucky enough to choose the strongest cat-bodied tiger, the result would still be decided under the Zhang family's Xian beast mantra. Young Master Mo is indeed straightforward. Then I shall not make any more choices. I'll just choose the one closest to me. Zhang Qingfeng smiled proudly. When everyone present heard this, it was one thing if they didn't know. But those who were familiar with the Jean family's abilities all pursed their lip. Do you even need to choose? You're basically carrying an invincible cheat. No matter which one you choose, the result will be the same. Next, it was time for them to train their beast. Jean Qingfeng had already covered a small tent with a black cloth. He threw the cat-bodied tiger into the tent, then reached in with his other hand. Inside, the furious roars of the cat-bodied tiger gradually disappeared, turning into a satisfied moan, and on Jun Dashao's side, everyone's jaws dropped once again. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Jun Dashao smiled and opened the cage door. He did not even use his Xian Qi, as if he was completely defenseless. Everyone was astonished to see this. One had to know that the claws and beak of this cat-bodied tiger were both extremely powerful weapons. Normally, if a person with a low cultivation of profound energy was not on guard, they would also be bitten by a cat-bodied tiger. In fact, they might even have their hands bitten off. And that was not something impossible. Just now, first young Master Jean's plan was to take advantage of the fact that Mo Junye's current strength was too low and it was difficult for him to control the cat-bodied tiger as he pleased. His own strength was insufficient, so how could he train him? But this free and natural physique cultivator actually opened it without a care. Did he really not care, or was it the ignorant who were fearless? What happened next caused everyone's eyeballs to almost fall out of their socket. That cat-bodied tiger raised its head and looked at the youth in front of it with a puzzled expression. Stretching its back lazily, it let out a meow and slowly walked out of the cage, as if it was a domesticated cat. It walked with the most authentic cat steps to Jun Moxie's side and rubbed its little head against his calf intimately. Then, it laid down contentedly at his feet and flipped over, its white belly facing the sky. Then it did another roll. My heavens, what is going on here? In the crowd, a youth's eyes widened as his mouth opened so wide that it seemed as if he could swallow this cat-bodied tiger whole. On his arms, there were a few extremely obvious scratch marks left behind by the cat-bodied tiger, and it was precisely because of this that he was so shocked. Everyone knew that the belly of an animal was the weakest part of its body, and also the most fatal part. Once an animal completely bared its belly in front of a human or any other animal, that was a sign of complete submission and trust. The cat-bodied tiger was a Xian beast that was naturally adept at fighting, and its innate wariness could be said to be ridiculously strong. No matter what kind of living creature it was, it did not have the slightest bit of trust. Even after it matured, it would not do such a thing in front of its parents, but why was it able to be so relaxed in front of this free and natural physique? Could it be that the legendary miraculous physique had the ability to cause Xian beasts to take the initiative to express intimacy? Everyone's eyes were wide open, and a bunch of jaws dropped to the ground. Jun Moxie smiled warmly and said, "Little fellow, come over here and let me take a good look at you." As he said that, he squatted down and lightly hugged the cat-bodied tiger in his arms. His hands gently stroked the cat-bodied tiger's back, his movements extremely gentle. The cat-bodied tiger let out another 2 meows and closed its eyes in an extremely docile manner. Its entire body was curled up in Jun Moxie's arms, and as he stroked it, it even let out a comfortable purr. Heavens, I must be dreaming, is this still a cat-bodied tiger? In the crowd, the youth with the scratch marks on his hands could not help but cry out. F***ck. This can't really be a cat, right? Meow Xiao Meow's beautiful eyes widened, unable to understand what was happening in front of her. Her eyesight was naturally not something that the youth could compare to. She had long since seen the difference between a cat-bodied tiger and an ordinary kitten. She naturally knew that the one in Jun Moxie's arms was indeed a genuine cat-bodied tiger, but why would such a strange phenomenon occur? Why would a cat-bodied tiger be so docile and obedient? And why would it show such an intimate and defenseless attitude towards humans? She could not figure it out at all, and was not much clearer than the others. Everyone was so shocked that they had forgotten that the other cat-bodied tigers in the cages had also quietened down. Every single one of their eyes was focused on the cat-bodied tiger in June Moc's arms. If one were to look carefully, they would be able to see that the expressions in the eyes of these cat-bodied tigers were not filled with hostility, nor was it filled with disgust. Instead, it was envy and jealousy. That's right, they were envious and jealous of their own species. To actually be able to be held in that person's arms, what a blissful thing that would be. Such a good thing. Why didn't it happen to me? June Moxie smiled faintly, secretly gathering a wisp of heaven-earth spirit energy in his palm. As he caressed it, he slowly poured it into the cat-bodied tiger's body. The tiny cat-bodied tiger gave a surprised meow, and then widened its eyes in joy. It could clearly feel the strength in its body growing rapidly, instantly breaking through its limit. To think that breaking through was actually so easy! The limits that it was destined to never be able to break through had actually been broken through in an instant. To think that this special human who made it feel so familiar with the moment it saw him actually had such great capabilities. The aura on his body actually made it yearn and yearn so much. June Moxie smiled faintly as he maintained the flow of energy. He even had the leisure to look at Zhan Qingfeng, who was not too far away, as if he was studying and curious how Zhan Qingfeng trained Xian beasts. In the eyes of others, this innocent expression of his seemed like he was just hugging a cat-bodied tiger in a daze, smiling foolishly. No one would have thought that he had already used the greatest cheating method in front of everyone, a cheating method that was even more exaggerated than the invincible cheating method. How should one describe it? The cat-bodied tiger in June Dashao's arms suddenly moved. With a shudder, it suddenly opened its eyes wide and raised its head towards the sky. Meow 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 meow. It cried out continuously, its voice growing louder and louder. Following its cries, the 4 other cat-bodied tigers in the cages suddenly began to tremble. Then, they slowly bent their front limbs and crawled into the cage, lowering their heads in a pitiful manner. Their eyes that were originally filled with envy and jealousy grew even more fervent, and there was even a hint of fear in their eyes. Following the sudden cry of the cat-bodied tiger, June Dashao loosened his grip. The cat-bodied tiger fell to the ground with a plop, turning around to look at June Moxie with an indescribable look of reluctance and gratitude in its eyes. The cat-bodied tiger's starting level was still too low, and it could not withstand too much heaven-earth spiritual qi. June Moxie had only injected a very small amount of heaven-earth spiritual qi into it. But this tiny amount was already more than enough. In fact, even June Moxie had not expected that the heaven-earth spiritual qi he was absorbing right now was actually the primordial purple qi refined by the Hongjun Pagoda. So what he was injecting into this cat-bodied tiger right now was precisely this primordial purple qi. Primordial purple qi could be said to be the most precious treasure in the world. All the cultivators in the world, regardless of whether they were humans or Xian beasts, yearned for this thing in their dreams but were unable to obtain it. Although it was just that tiny amount, it was enough to make today's battle without any suspense. With this tiny amount of primordial purple qi in its body, even if this cat-bodied tiger was still a 4th-level Xian beast, even a 5th or 6th-level Xian beast would not be its match. Furthermore, this tiny amount of primordial purple qi would remain in this cat-bodied tiger's body forever, giving it the possibility of limitless growth and advancement, whether it was the Beast King of Tian Fa or the Holy Emperor of the human race. If they knew that June Dashao had wasted such a precious treasure to give to a mere 4th-level Xian beast, they might even feel a tinge of jealousy and hatred towards this 4th-level cat-bodied tiger. Even June Moxie himself would not have imagined that a joke he had done on a whim today would actually create an absolute emperor among Xian beasts thousands of years later. And along with its master, it would once again set off an unimaginable storm of blood and terror. Of course, that was already an exciting story for another book. The cat-bodied tiger floated down from June Mosie's arms. Its body of colorful fur actually had a faint purple luster to it at this moment, causing it to look much more majestic and also much more mysterious. "Little fellow, you don't have a name yet, right?" June Moxie spoke, as if he was talking to a human. "Since we've met today, it must be fate. I'll give you a name. From today onwards, you'll be called Little Purple. How about it?" Chapter 961. June Moxie naturally knew that after this cat-bodied tiger had received the primal chaos purple chi from him, it could completely understand what he was saying. This was a kind of spiritual connection that was born from the mysterious primal chaos purple chi, but when the rest of the people present saw such an extremely fantastical scene, they were all shocked speechless. Could it be that this free and natural physique Mo Jun Yi was really filled with endless mysteries? Or could it be that the god of fortune was watching him all the time? Could it be that this unwinnable situation was going to be turned around by him? Right now, Miao Xiao Miao's eyes were shining brightly. She was already somewhat intoxicated. Previously, the main reason why she had helped this Mo Jun Yi was because she didn't want this free and natural physique possessor to be controlled by the Zhan family and become an enemy that they would find hard to deal with in the future. Secondly, it was also because she wanted to cherish his talent. But right now, after she had already made the biggest decision in her heart, she only felt that this Mo Jun Yi's every word and action was extremely pleasing to the eye. My choice is definitely not wrong. Definitely not wrong. Miao Xiao Miao said confidently to herself in her heart. Behind the veil, her expression became more and more resolute. "Little Purple, I'm counting on you for this competition. You must do well for me, you understand," June Moxie said to Little Purple. Little Purple raised its tail and wagged it with all its might. It glanced at Zhan Qingfeng with its intelligent eyes and raised its head proudly to meow a few times, revealing a look of disdain. If June Moxie could understand it, he would know that Little Purple was saying, "This cat is already the king of the cat-bodied tigers. To compete with such a small character is really lowering my status. Forget it. In order to repay you, I'll torture that fellow over there. I'm really lowering my status, At this time, it seemed like Zhan Qingfeng had finally confirmed that he had finished training the cat-bodied tiger. His handsome face was covered in sweat, and his body was exhausted. But there was a look of extreme joy in his eyes. The way he looked at June Moxie also became exceptionally cruel. This time it was really too smooth. In the past, when he channeled his Xian Qi into a Xian beast's body, there would always be some resistance. At the very least, it would not be able to completely merge with the Xian beast. At least half of the energy would be wasted in the process. But this time, for some reason, the cat-bodied tiger had become abnormally docile and cooperative not long after it entered the black cloth. No matter how much pain it was enduring, it didn't make a single sound. This unexpected cooperation made the process of instilling the Xian beast art unexpectedly easy, and the effects were even more shocking. At least 90% of the spirit energy was perfectly infused into the target cat-bodied tiger's body. This kind of success rate was rarely seen in the entire history of the Zhan family. To actually encounter such a ridiculously good thing before the final battle, Zhan Qingfeng was naturally full of pride. The heavens are really on my side. But what he did not know was that the reason why the cat-bodied tiger was so cooperative this time was because the cat-bodied tiger revealed the aura of a king after receiving June Moxie's primal chaos purple chi. Although humans could not detect the unique aura of a Xian beast, as a Xian beast of the same species, it could sense it clearly. So in that instant, it was suppressed by that aura to the point that it did not even dare to move. It did not even dare to make a sound. This was the most terrifying moment in its life. The infusion of spirit energy from Zhan Qingfeng naturally became exceptionally easy. This kind of thing had only happened once in the Misty Mansion since ancient times. So Zhan Qingfeng's claim that he was the first scorpion dung in the entire history of the Zhan family was also extremely accurate. Only the cat-bodied tiger that he had instilled into it was extremely irritated after the installation was completed. The reason was even simpler. Heavens ah! That newly born king is actually the opponent I'm going to fight to the death with this time. Heavens ah! Great earth ah! Please let me die! This bunch of Zhan family trash, why are they so inhumane? Of all people, why did they have to pick me, to let an ordinary cat-bodied tiger like me fight with my own king? Isn't this the same as an ordinary commoner of the Misty Mansion challenging the Manor Lord of the Misty Mansion? How would there be any chance of survival? This is not even a fight of the same level. Boss, please let me off. There has never been anyone who played with cats like this. Brother Mo, seeing how calm you are, I guess you're already prepared? Zhan Qingfeng looked at Jun Moxie with a smug smile on his face. Prepared? There's still a need to prepare? Jun Moxie was stunned. Isn't it just a man and a cat? Let them fight? What else is there to prepare? Ha ha! Zhan Qingfeng could no longer hold it in and laughed maniacally. He looked at that free and natural physique expert like a cat toying with a mouse, and said in a mocking tone, Since that's the case, shall we begin now? And sure, we can start anytime. Jun Moxie nodded his head blankly. And where's your cat-bodied tiger, Only now did Zhan Qingfeng realize that in front of Jun Moxie, there was a little animal with brightly colored fur. It was rolling around happily, occasionally rubbing its tiny head against the other's leg and meowing. In this instant, Zhan Qingfeng's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. In front of him, the little fellow that was playing around was as docile as a domestic cat. Was this the cat-bodied tiger that had always loved to fight and didn't have the slightest bit of goodwill towards humans? How did Mo Junyi do it? What did he do? What was going on? Zhan Qingfeng didn't have time to think, because Jun Moxie had already spoken. Little Purple, do you see that? That tall fellow is the one who's competing with me this time. Your opponent is the cat-bodied tiger that he picked. You have to work hard don't embarrass yourself. Following young Master Mo's words, Little Purple turned around haughtily and looked at Zhan Qingfeng with drooping eyelids. Then, she suddenly sprinted over, arriving in front of Zhan Qingfeng. Turning around, she stuck out her small butt and exerted force. With a pew sound, a faint yellow gas was spat out from behind. It actually farted with all its might. Then, Little Purple meowed happily twice and ran back to Jun Moxie's feet. It kept circling around him, happy and proud that it had completed its task, and was waiting for its master's praise. F***ck, you little thing, stay away from me. Why are you so uncivilized? You actually farted in front of so many people? Look at what you've done to young Master Zhan, and you're still so smug. Jun Moxie pinched his nose and scolded. Although it's said that farts come from the stomach, how can I not release it? But haven't you heard the last sentence? The one who farts is overjoyed, the one who smells the fart hangs his head in dejection. Go go go, don't rub yourself against my pants after farting. Otherwise the smell will spread. You're still rubbing. Little Purple meowed a couple of times, raised its little paw and gestured a couple of times. Then, it meowed a few more times and turned back to look at Zhan Qingfeng. Then, it stuck out its butt and meowed a little pitifully. It seemed to be saying, That fellow is your opponent. I'm helping you by teasing him. Why are you still scolding me? How could you be so unreasonable? Everyone was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. Meow Xiao Meow covered her mouth with one hand, her big eyes turning into crescent moons. Looking at young Master Zhan Qingfeng's expression, it was impossible for him not to laugh. Zhan Qingfeng's mouth was agape, and his eyes were wide open. Who would have thought that a cat-bodied tiger would be able to make such a human-like and strange move? No, this is even more human-like than a human. Is this still a cat-bodied tiger? Besides, the thing that this little thing released was too smelly, wasn't it? Young Master Jean's mouth was agape for a long time, and he almost subconsciously swallowed the stench into his stomach. Only then did he regain his senses. He felt that the stench was truly unbearable, and even his internal organs were stinking. Pooey, 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 blurg. Young Master Jean vomited for a long time, feeling extremely uncomfortable in his stomach. Is this a cat-bodied tiger or a weasel? This is too ridiculous, isn't it? For the first time, Zhang Qingfeng had a bad feeling about this Xian beast battle. The strange things that happened to the other party were simply too inconceivable, completely beyond the understanding of everyone present. Can we begin, young Master Jean? Jun Moxie squinted his eyes leisurely. Begin. Zhang Qingfeng gritted his teeth and looked at the little fellow with some fear. Finally, he gave the order. Someone passed over a brush, and Jun Moxie drew a circle on Little Purple's head. And black. Zhang Qingfeng also drew a circle on his cat-bodied tiger's head. White. But in Jun Moxie's eyes, no matter how he looked at it, that cat-bodied tiger was like a white flag stuck on its head. Before Jun Moxie could give any specific instructions, the little fellow in front of him had already dashed out like a wisp of smoke, arriving at the center of the arena. Woo! It let out a loud and clear howl, following which, he strode around the area with his cat-like gait, as if he was a king inspecting his own territory. On the other hand, the cat-bodied tiger that Zhang Qingfeng had poured all of his blood, sweat, and tears into, the most successful cat-bodied tiger in the history of the Zhang family. Its demeanor was extremely awkward no matter how one looked at it. Not only was it shrinking back and struggling to move forward, it was also taking 2 steps back every time it took a step. It kept turning its head back to look at Zhang Qingfeng. Meow meow, it looked extremely pitiful. Chapter 962. Zhang Qingfeng was infuriated. He simply could not understand why these 2 cat-bodied tigers had suddenly changed their appearances. Today's matter is simply too strange, but if you don't go up, where will I put my face? How am I supposed to win? Thus, young Master Jean picked up the cat-bodied tiger and threw it over, baring his fangs as he roared, "Bite it to death for me! Catch it to death!" If the cat-bodied tiger could understand, it would probably be bawling out loud, "Old master, please don't mess around, are you sure you're not joking?" With a plop, the cat-bodied tiger finally landed on the ground. The moment it raised its head, it saw its comrade, the king of the cat-bodied tigers, Little Purple. That pair of cold and merciless eyes was staring right at it. With a shudder, the cat-bodied tiger instantly felt like it had shrunk by half a head. With a meow, it hurriedly raised its front paws and gestured frantically, meowing. All the other cat-bodied tigers in the cages were lying comfortably on the ground, watching the show. They were all looking at their comrade with a pitiful look in their eyes. Every single one of them had the same meaning in their eyes. Idiot! Meeting with our king in the arena, and you still want to act pitiful and explain? You must be thinking too much about your cat head. You can only blame your bad luck for this. Brat, accept your fate. Much to everyone's surprise, when the 2 cat-bodied tigers met in the center of the arena, they did not engage in a fierce battle. Instead, they raised their paws and gestured while meowing, as if they were actually conversing? What was going on with these 2? Could it be that they had reunited from the same mother in this arena? Otherwise, how were they supposed to explain this? Only male beasts were chosen to participate in the beast battles. This was to avoid embarrassing incidents like Xian beasts in heat. In that instant, everyone felt as if they were in a dream. Looking at the 2 cat-bodied tigers, they felt as if the world was filled with an indescribable fantasy. Boss boo-hoo. I was forced, really. The cat-bodied tiger with a white circle on its head said. No need to explain, I can understand. A deep, majestic voice came from Little Purple. Boo-hoo. Boss, tell me, what should I do? I'll do whatever you want me to do. I don't have a choice either. Now that we're here, we'll definitely have to determine the victor. Ugh! But how could this lowly one dare to fight you? Look at me, I'm so scared that my tail is drooping. Besides, fighting with you isn't considered a victory or defeat, it's just you torturing me. That makes sense. There's really nothing we can do about it. Boo-hoo. I'm so pitiful, too pitiful, that bastard from the Jean family. I don't know what kind of rotten idea he came up with, damn it. He's simply inhumane. Nonsense, there isn't anyone in our Chien Beast world who doesn't know that there isn't anyone good in his family. Woo woo woo, F***ck. Are you going to fight or not? If you make another move, I'm going to make the first move. Woo woo woo, I'm coming. I'm really coming. Woo, forget it, let's fight. This is my first battle for Master, I must win. Kid, just accept your fate. Who asked you to be so unlucky and get picked by that idiot? Hee hee. Woo. Woo woo woo, cry. What are you crying for? Even if you cry until your throat breaks, it's useless. Let's just fight. Maybe I'll consider going easy on you. Boss, you must go easy on me, please don't kill me. I'll try my best, this newly increased strength seems a little hard to control. I'm going to die, save me boss, please try your best to control it, why is my life so bitter? Under everyone's expectant gazes, the two cat-bodied tigers finally ended their conversation. It was as if two martial arts experts were having a duel, staring at each other cautiously as they slowly moved their feet and circled each other, displaying the demeanor of an expert. And it was the demeanor of a high-level beast. Isn't this too much of a demeanor? I've really seen something rare today. A young master in the crowd exclaimed in shock. This brother's eyeballs were practically popping out of his eye sockets, his face full of disbelief as he pointed a finger at the battlefield, his face flushed red with excitement. Meow. Little Purple leapt up and turned into a ray of light. What it meant was, I'm coming. I'm really going to make my move. Meow. What it meant was, woo woo woo. My dear boss, I have such a bitter life, please, 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 please control your strength well. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the two cat-bodied tigers were locked in a fierce battle. Back and forth, neither side winning or losing, such a scene was the result of Little Purple intentionally going easy on its opponent, otherwise it would have been instantly killed without any suspense. The battle became more and more intense, and there were already pieces of fur fluttering in the air, like willow catkins. Finally, awoo! With a loud shout, Little Purple leaped up, its two sharp claws flashing with a metallic luster, revealing itself from its claws. Awoo, meow meow. That cat-bodied tiger also cried out, Boss, remember your promise, don't let me die. Following the howls, the victor was clear. Little Purple was not injured in the slightest. It climbed up from its opponent's body proudly and circled around the arena, exuding the aura of a king. Little Purple seemed to be more like a cat, so that cat-bodied tiger did not die. It was only trembling on the ground, its body covered in wounds, its blood had even dyed the ground red. This was all thanks to Little Purple's mercy, not injuring its internal organs and bones. But the wounds on its body were too horrible to look at. In the eyes of everyone, it was obvious that this cat-bodied tiger had already lost, and it had no more strength to fight. The victor was clear, and the black circle on Little Purple's head clearly indicated that June Moxie had won. Zhan Qingfeng's face was ashen. It's over. Everything is over. The bet has come to an end. It's officially over. Mo Junyi, young Master Mo, has won 5 rounds in a row. Mo Junyi wins, the Zhan family loses. As Miao Xiao Miao's crisp voice announced the result, the two old men from the Zhan family sighed and lowered their heads in disappointment. With such a clear result, even a deity would not be able to turn the tables. Senior, look, such a result, this. One of the old men said carefully. The other old man closed his eyes and did not speak for a long time. After a long time, he finally said, Today's battle was truly unexpected. It was not the fault of the battle. This battle has proven that the free and natural physique possessor is definitely not as simple as we had imagined him to be. Ordinary people, no matter how talented they are, would not be able to understand so much and know so much, especially that last battle. The cat-bodied tiger's performance was definitely suspicious. That's right, how could a cat-bodied tiger have such a high intelligence in such a short time? And it was clearly just sent over by the beast battling arena. It was definitely not raised by a human. See, that old man suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air as he said this. A cold glint flashed in the eyes of the seated old man. Are you suspecting that the people of the beast battling arena are in cahoots with them? And this is not impossible. Pass down the order. Immediately conduct a thorough investigation on the people of the beast battling arena. If there is any suspicion, there is no need to inform anyone, just deal with it directly. Yes. Also, go and get that cat-bodied tiger and send it over to me. This old man wants to see what secrets it has. Yes. There's also this Mo Junyi. Previously, we only knew that Chao Guofeng had found a successor with the free and natural physique in the Misty Mansion. This person is definitely a genius in the field of Xian Qi cultivation. From the looks of it now, he is not simple at all. Through today's battle, it can be seen that this Mo Junyi is indeed very dangerous. That old man fell into deep thought, as if trying to sort out the thoughts in his heart. This person is calm and clear-headed. His adaptability is also unparalleled in the world. Furthermore, this person is courageous and ruthless. No matter which of the previous matches he fought, he still forced Qing Feng and Yu Shu into a corner before he officially entered the competition. In this way, the two brothers have completely lost the chance to turn the situation around. Such an experienced and ruthless method, such a deep scheme. Furthermore, this person is skilled in music, poetry, calligraphy, painting. There is nothing he does not know. His chess skills are also enough to be called a national-level master. He is even proficient in the arts of gambling and debauchery. Such a person, no matter where he is, would definitely rise to fame in an extremely short period of time, becoming a legend of a generation. Even in our Misty Mansion, even if he does not have the slightest bit of Xian Qi, he would definitely not be a nameless tragedy. But why did we hear that this person did not seem to have any past? Completely appearing out of thin air, this is an extremely suspicious point. What you mean is, immediately send people out of the Misty Mansion to investigate this matter thoroughly. Anyone who was similar to Mo Junyi in any way, or had something in common with him, had to be recorded and carefully investigated. I want to see what kind of person this Mo Junyi is. Yes, but if that's the case, I'm afraid 5 days is not enough. The old man beside him frowned carefully. 5 days? Why do you care about 5 days? Did I ask for a time limit? But 5 days later is the official day to enter the spiritual herbal gardens. According to the bet, our Zhan family has lost a spot to enter the spiritual herbal gardens to Mo Junyi. Don't tell me this spot is really given to him? Idiot. Of course this spot must be given to him. If we don't give it to him, can you drag it out? This is a blood oath made by the ancestors and descendants of the Zhan family. Can you really go against such an oath? Yes, Sai. Besides, this Mo Junyi is the legendary free and natural physique possessor. If he really has an ulterior motive for entering the Misty Mansion, then what would his motive be? What if it's the spiritual herbal gardens? Then, once he enters the spiritual herbal gardens, it will instead become the best place to expose his true colors. Don't forget, in there, all kinds of tricks and schemes will be exposed. Old ancestor is indeed wise. Let's forget about today's matter. This old man will return first. As for Qing Feng and Yu Shu, tell them that this is just a lesson. It's also an experience for them. It's a mistake in the family's decision. We can't blame them. Just remember this. It will be of great benefit to their future. Yes. Chapter 963. Old Ancestor is indeed the old ancestor, coming and going without a trace. Truly the methods of a deity. Another old man muttered as he looked at the window in awe. Finishing his words, he slowly walked down the stairs. In the shadows at the back of the Drifting Fragrance Inn, a piece of oilcloth moved slightly, then slowly rose up, revealing a white head. Right now, the eyes of the head were filled with endless confusion. What is the Jean family's motive for doing this? And that old fart from the Jean family, why did he specially come out to watch this boring duel? What are they trying to do? And that free and natural physique person is really a little too interesting. This Mo Junyi, what is he trying to do? This old man has always prided himself on being intelligent and quick-witted all my life, but why am I so confused today? There must be some hidden meaning behind this matter. This old man must go back and inform the family first. Xiao Miao has clearly developed feelings for Mo Junyi. How should this matter be resolved? Will this Mo Junyi eventually become an ally of the Miao family? What a headache, ah! Without a sound, this person also floated up and disappeared without a trace. In the distance, a streak of light slowly disappeared. From the looks of it, it was heading towards the direction of the Miao family. In the Drifting Fragrance Inn, Jun Moxie's ears twitched slightly, and the corners of his mouth slowly curved into a bright smile. Zhan Yushu and Zhan Qingfeng stared blankly at that cat-bodied tiger that was still showing off its prowess. Both of their hearts were filled with despair. Was everything going to end just like that? But we had clearly prepared an extremely detailed plan, prepared to completely subdue this free and natural physique person, and from there, establish the future of our Zhan family in the Misty Mansion, and even had many other plans. All of these were things that we had already started preparing ever since we knew that this person with the free and natural physique had come to the Misty Mansion. We had prepared for a long time, and even used the entire strength of our family to carry it out. To lose to a country bumpkin just like that? And even fall into his trap? I say, what are you two brothers doing here? Isn't it time to fulfill the bet we agreed on? Jun Moxie shook his head and said, I remember that the first condition was, your Zhan family promised to give me a slot to enter the spiritual herbal gardens. You won't go back on your word, will you? If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. Don't worry. No matter what, our Zhan family will definitely achieve this. Zhan Qingfeng was sweating profusely, but he could not back down now. All right. How straightforward. I'll wait 5 days to enter the spiritual herbal garden. The most important thing is that all of you must remember that I want to enter, but Miss Miao's spot cannot be delayed either. Jun Moxie snapped his fingers. The third condition is that I can make any request of the Zhan family. Of course, I am not prepared to fulfill this condition now, so we can put it aside for now. When Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu heard this, not only did they not heave a sigh of relief, their hearts were even more tense. From his words, anyone could tell that what he wanted now was definitely the fulfillment of the second condition. Right here, 10 kowtows, 10 grandpa. Indeed, but the second condition is not that troublesome and seems very simple. Since the two of you are here, we might as well fulfill it here. Jun Moxie said lightly, his eyes cold and vicious. Now that you've lost, according to the agreement, the two of you will kowtow to me 10 times and call me Grandpa 10 times. The moment he said this, everyone was shocked. Although there was a bet beforehand, no one had expected that this great prodigy Mo Junyi would be so audacious, to actually make such a request that would make them fight to the death with him. If he did not let it go today, the entire Zhan family would have a grudge against him for generations to come, with no possibility of reconciliation. Anyone who wanted to develop their career in the Misty Mansion would not do this. Only the wise ones would not do it. Because, offending the Zhan family in the Misty Mansion was no different from committing suicide. Zhan Qingfeng's usual gentle and refined expression had long disappeared. His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at Mo Junyi, spitting out word by word through gritted teeth. Don't go too far. What, you want to go back on your word? Jun Moxie laughed coldly. That is also a blood oath made with the ancestors and descendants of the Zhan family. Even if I can let you off, your Zhan family will not agree, right? Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu were speechless. The reason why the Zhan brothers would retort was probably because the kowtowing and calling him grandfather was too embarrassing. With their status, if they really did as they promised, they would probably never have the face to stand in front of others again. Such humiliation was even more difficult to bear. Naturally, the thought of reneging on their promise arose in their hearts. But when she heard young Master Jun's warning, she suddenly remembered that the result of the bet had already been decided. So, the bet was in effect immediately. If she didn't kowtow and call him grandfather, then according to the terms of the bet, it would be tantamount to her cursing her ancestors and future generations. Even if they understood the situation, if they kowtowed to this country bumpkin in front of so many people, how would they be able to stand in front of others in the future? Even if they could take over the Zhan family in the future, today's failure would be an indelible humiliation. Instantly, the veins on their foreheads bulged while their eyes almost split apart from rage. At this moment, the two of them were truly in a dilemma. Even if they wanted to open their mouths to explain, they were actually unable to say a single word. Since you have the guts to set up a bet, you must be willing to admit defeat. Paying your debts is fair and just. Jun Moxie said leisurely. You can't possibly take all the advantages for yourselves, but impose all the harsh conditions on others. Once the failure is placed on you yourselves, you have to come up with excuses and quibble, right? To be so forgiving to oneself and so harsh to others is the biggest taboo in the world. At this moment, there was only coldness and determination in great prodigy Mo's eyes. Anyone who saw his eyes could clearly tell that today's matter was definitely not going to be resolved peacefully. With Mo Junye's current attitude, it was obvious that he wanted to force the two Zhan family brothers to kowtow 10 times and call him grandpa 10 times. To resolve this matter perfectly, it was actually very simple. As long as this free and natural physique great prodigy Mo loosened his mouth and said magnanimously, "Actually, we were just joking earlier, why did you kowtow?" Then everything would be over. This way, the Zhan family brothers would also be able to step down from the stage, and everyone would have a happy ending. It's not that we brothers don't want to fulfill the bet, but that the other party is magnanimous and doesn't mind. We can't possibly force ourselves to do it, right? But other than Jun Moxie, there was no one else who had the right to say such words. Right now, Jun Dashao was firmly in control of this matter. His face was filled with a "do not come near me" expression. Everyone who wanted to bite the bullet and come forward to plead for leniency, after seeing his expression, tactfully dispelled the thought. Not to mention that there was no one who was familiar with Mo Junyi. Even if there was, they would only be asking for a rebuff if they really went forward. Finally, amidst the endless silence, a white-haired old man squinted his triangular eyes and came out to smooth things over. He chuckled and said, "Young Master Mo, you see, the notary has already confirmed your victory and the bet has been successfully concluded. Can we? Haha, this joking bet, let's just forget about it. Anyway, the quota to enter the elixir garden has already been confirmed. Why don't we?" Everyone looked over, and there was almost no one who didn't know this old man. This old man could be considered to be rather knowledgeable, but his character was extremely unbearable. He had always relied on the Zhan family and did things according to the Zhan family's whims. Now that he had stepped out to smooth things over, no one was surprised. "Who are you? What right do you have to interrupt here?" Jun Moxie turned his head and looked at him coldly. "Do you have the right to speak about the bet between me and the Zhan family brothers? A joking bet? How is this a joke? Did you participate in this bet? What kind of thing are you? Could it be that your words can represent the Jean family? When the old man heard this, he was immediately startled, and his face instantly turned purple. All along, he was used to flaunting his seniority. With his head of white hair, even if someone despised his actions, as long as it wasn't too big of a deal, most people would still give him some face. After all, respecting the old and virtuous was a basic principle of life, no matter which world it was. Although this old man was far from being virtuous, and even had nothing to do with the word virtuous, just based on his head of white hair, he could barely be considered old. That was why he had stepped out today, trying to smooth things over and help the Jean family brothers get off the stage. In his mind, he was old and virtuous. Although he was suspected of stepping out forcefully, he was still helping the two families reconcile. Not only would he be doing the Jean family a huge favor, he would also be able to use this as an opportunity to form a relationship with the future #1 expert of the Misty Mansion. That was why he had stepped out to mediate things. But he had never expected to meet such a rash young man today. Not only did he not give him any face, he even gave him a hot fart. This old man naturally cannot represent the Jean family, but the old man had wanted to say pass, and then retaliate harshly. He wanted to criticize this fellow in front of him for not knowing how to respect the old and his dignity, and that he was lacking in even the most basic of morals. He had to go further and make this brat look ashamed, so that he would know the consequences of offending this old man. Even if he could not convince this brat, he had to muddy the waters and give the two young masters of the Jean family a chance to get off the stage. Who knew that just as he was about to start his long speech, he was immediately interrupted by June Moxie. "Old brat, if you cannot represent the Jean family, then what are you bullshitting for? Do you think that you are so king respectable? Why should this old man give you face? You can't represent the Jean family, and yet you dare to come out and spout nonsense? Or is it because it is spring now, and you are king in heat?" Chapter 964. What about you? Scram to the side. If you talk any more, I'll pull out your tongue and feed it to the dogs. How king unlucky, with just a head of white hair, you think you're an old ancestor. Look at you, you're not even 100 years old, and your hair has already turned white. It can only mean that you're a king useless person. If you don't have the ability, you still want to stand out? What right do you have to stand out? Just based on that mouth of yours. Even if you don't feel embarrassed, I feel embarrassed for you. June Moxie said fiercely. Everyone was shocked. This kid didn't seem to think much of it during the competition, but looking at him now, this sharp tongue. In terms of scolding people, probably no one in the entire Misty Illusory Manor would be a match for him. It was truly too sharp, but after the incident of the old man being poked, no matter who Zhang Qingfeng and his brother looked at for help, no matter if they were friends or not, deep or shallow, they all turned their heads away and pretended not to see it. Didn't they see that white-haired old man being scolded so badly? If we go up and get scolded like that too, where would we put our faces? We really can't afford to lose that face. He is the legendary free and natural physique possessor, and even your Jean family can only play dirty with him. You don't even dare to attack him openly, much less kill him. Who do we think we are? What are we going to say? Not only are we unable to mediate the situation, we even have to fight against the great prodigy. Do you think we're stupid? June Moxie's goal had undoubtedly been achieved. Right now, the Jean family brothers were completely alone and helpless. In the end, it was still Miao Xiao Miao who hesitated for a moment before speaking in a low voice. Brother Mo, let's end this matter here. Enough is good for both sides. If you completely offend the Jean family, it will affect your future development. Benefits for both sides? It's only benefits for the Zhang Qingfeng brothers. What benefits can I get? Do you think that after today's matter, there's still room for us to coexist peacefully? Even if I magnanimously let them off today, could it be that the two brothers would not hold a grudge against me for what happened today? And could it be that the Jean family would show mercy to me because of this? June Emosia asked in confusion. I can't. Meow Xiao Meow instantly understood. She was indeed too idealistic. Since Mo June Yi had already offended the Jean family, it wouldn't be a big deal to offend them a little more. It was precisely because the situation had developed to the point where it couldn't be any more serious. Even if it was 10 times more serious, the result would still be the same. One wouldn't worry about too many debts, and one wouldn't feel itchy after being infested with lice. I say, you two, hurry up, everyone is busy. How long are you going to stall for? June Moxie said impatiently to Zhan Qingfeng. It's such a simple matter. It's not like I'm asking you to commit suicide or anything. Is there a need to go through so much trouble? Isn't it just kowtowing 10 times and calling me grandpa 10 times? What's the big deal? Just bend your knees, move your lips, and it's over. Look at you two dragging your feet like a bunch of girls. Everyone fell to the ground. Just kowtowing 10 times and calling me grandpa 10 times? And just? Why do you make it sound so easy? Why don't you try it yourself? Mo Junyi, do you really want to push things to the point of no return? Do you really want to push the enmity between us to a point where it can never be resolved? Zhan Yushu's expression was very forlorn. Second young Master Zhan must be joking. What enmity do we have between us? Isn't it just a small bet and you guys lost? We've already said earlier that if you're willing to bet, you must be willing to accept the loss. And the two of you also know the consequences of going back on the agreement. The choice was originally in your hands, right? But since second young master has asked, I don't wish to speak any more nonsense. I'll just ask you one thing. Out of the 5 rounds just now, if I lose even 1 round and lose the bet, can you guys give up on those 3 conditions? Do unto others what you do not wish to be done unto you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. June Moxie looked at him mockingly. Second young Master Zhan, let me give you a word of advice. Don't think that you're the only smart person in this world and treat everyone else as fools that you can manipulate as you please. With your current intelligence, I really don't mind lecturing you, that's right. There are truly many smart people in this world. There are also many who play the pig to eat the tiger. There are naturally many who have ulterior motives. A voice suddenly rang out leisurely. Along with the voice, a white-robed old man appeared leisurely. Young Master Mo is naturally an extremely intelligent person. You've already seen through everything here. Everything is naturally within your grasp. Am I right? Zhan Bingfeng, the Zhan family's chief consecrator elder, and also the younger brother of the previous family head of the Zhan family. He's actually here personally. Meow Xiao Meow hurriedly transmitted her voice to June Moxie, reminding him of the identity of the person who had come. When Zhan Qingfeng and Meow Xiao Meow saw this old man, their eyes shone with a "My Savior has arrived" light. It was as if a drowning man had suddenly seen a piece of driftwood in his hand. Chief consecrator? Not necessarily. June Moxie snickered in his heart. He believed that this scene before him was only a small matter to the Zhan family. And when the Zhan family was at a complete disadvantage and had lost face, although this person's position in the Zhan family was not low, he was definitely not the true chief elder. It seemed that this so-called chief elder in front of him was just a pretense. Of course, the strength of this chief consecrator elder was not to be underestimated. He had actually reached the level of a second-grade holy emperor, comparable to that second master of his, by Qi Feng. May I ask if this old man has suddenly appeared at this time to help the Zhan family brothers act shamelessly? June Moxie said with a smile. The meaning behind his words was not the slightest bit polite. Our Zhan family has always been a man of honor. We have always been a man of honor. Why would we go back on our words? Jean Bing-feng said righteously. Besides, these two bastards did not seek permission from the family beforehand and caused such a huge incident. Even if you don't ask for the bet, this old man will not let them off. What a man of honor! I will definitely not go back on the bet. June Moxie said smoothly. Even if your Jean family does not acknowledge their actions today, these two young Master Jean are still the descendants of your Jean family, who swore a blood oath on behalf of your 8 generations of ancestors and descendants. This point, everyone here today can bear witness. Heaven and earth can bear witness. The moment he heard the words heaven and earth bear witness, Jean Bing-feng's heart skipped a beat. He knew that the other party was not going to let them off easily. However, for Jean Bing-feng to reach his current position, he was naturally not someone easy to deal with. Young Master Mo, please relax. As the saying goes, words are like the wind. Regardless of whether there is any blood oath or not, the Jean family will not deny that bet. Now, this old man will ask these two bastards to fulfill their bet. After saying that, he took a step forward and stood in front of June Moxie. Turning around, he said sternly, "You two little bastards! Daring to bet but unwilling to admit defeat. What a waste of being the descendants of the Jean family, ruining the reputation of the Jean family. Hurry up and kneel. Fulfill your bet." Jean Qing-feng and Jean Yushu's faces were ashen as they knelt on the ground. Sure enough, he kowtowed 10 times in a row and respectfully called out "Grandpa" 10 times. Miao Xiao Miao's face changed instantly. June Moxie snorted coldly and said, "What are the two young masters doing? Who are the two of you kneeling and calling out to?" Jean Bing-feng's face was full of righteousness, but he was standing in front of June Daxiao, his tall and sturdy body completely covering June Daxiao's figure. Jean Qing-feng and Jean Yushu were kowtowing and calling out "Grandpa," but it was all directed at Jean Bing-feng. And Jean Bing-feng was their great-uncle in the first place. This bet was really f***ed up. But now that June Moxie asked this question, they were instantly speechless. There was no way to answer this question. Anyone with a discerning eye would know that the two of them were playing a strange trick, cheating, but it was precisely because they were cheating that there was no way to answer. Could it be that they were going to admit that they were not calling out to you? Haha. Little friend Mo, our Jean family has indeed lost today's matter. And, since we agreed to the bet, we must accept our loss. Little friend Mo, rest assured, when the spiritual herbal gardens opens 5 days later, this old man guarantees with the reputation of the Jean family that there will definitely be a spot for little friend. As for that condition of yours, you can also raise it to the Jean family anytime. Our Jean family will definitely comply. Jean Bing-feng laughed loudly and said, "Today, the Jean family's reputation has been completely ruined by these two little bastards. This seat will return to the Jean family's ancestral hall to administer the family punishment to these two little bastards. I will take my leave now." Suddenly, he bent down and picked up Jean Qing-feng and Jean Yushu with both hands and flew out of the window, completely disappearing in the blink of an eye. He didn't even give June Moxie and the rest a chance to speak before running away. F***ck. Shameless. If the young one is shameless, then the old one is also shameless. The Jean family is simply a shameless family. What a scoundrel. Chief Elder? Pooey. Bullsh *T Chief Elder. June Moxie was utterly exasperated as he cursed loudly. But cursing was one thing. Although everyone knew that the Jean family was acting shamelessly, that final 10 kowtows was a humiliation that the Jean family would never be able to wash off. Even if Jean Bing-feng stood in front of June Moxie, it was the same. Because everyone knew what those 10 kowtows were for. Chapter 965. Seeing that the Jean family members had left, the rest of the people went up to chat with June Moxie. Although this free and natural physique prodigy had undoubtedly offended the Jean family in the worst possible way, and there was a high chance that he would die prematurely, but if he was lucky enough to survive and grow up based on his performance today, he would definitely become a powerful figure of his generation. There was no harm in making friends with him in advance. Even if this kid died prematurely, it wouldn't be a loss to anyone. June Mosie replied with a few words, and walked out on his own. Today, he felt that his results could still be considered a success. At the very least, as long as he entered the spiritual herbal gardens, then there was a high chance that he could achieve the goal of this trip, and the progress would definitely be ideal. After he succeeded, he would immediately leave. Why would he care about the misty mansion? Not only was he not in the mood, time was also very tight. There wasn't much time left until the war for seizing the heavens. Seeing that June Moxie was about to leave, Little Purple, who had been lying on the ground, pounced forward with a meow and tugged on his trousers. It raised its head and looked at June Moxie, its eyes full of affection and reluctance. Little Purple, your world is not here, nor is it with me. You should return to the forest. June Moxie gently picked it up. This is not your paradise. Go, Little Purple, if we are fated, we will meet again. As he spoke, Ching Ching placed it on the ground. Little Purple meowed twice and looked at June Moxie reluctantly. As if it had understood something, it suddenly let out a shrill cry, opened its mouth, and tore a piece of cloth from June Moxie's leg. It held it in its mouth reluctantly and looked up deeply at June Moxie. It spread out its 4 limbs and rolled in front of him. Then it stood up and turned back every 2 steps. With a meow, it dashed out like lightning. He had actually disappeared without a trace in this bustling hall. The piece of cloth it tore before leaving was clearly saying, "No matter what happens, I will remember your scent." As for that roll, it was saying, "No matter what happens, you will always be my master." Although the Xian beasts were small, they understood human nature. June Mosie couldn't help but feel a pang of pain in his heart, seeing that Mo Dashao was about to leave. Meow Xiao Meow hurriedly apologized to everyone and chased after him with Little Beansprout. But when the 2 of them came out, they saw that the street was filled with people. Mo Junyi, who had just walked out, was nowhere to be seen. Wasn't he a little too fast? Meow Xiao Meow stood there in a daze, feeling a sense of loss in her heart as she looked at the bustling crowd on the streets. "Miss, I think young Master Mo must have returned to the Holy Emperor Chao. With his speed, he shouldn't be able to get far. If we go back, we'll definitely be able to find him," Little Beansprout suggested cleverly. "That makes sense. Furthermore, I also need to hurry back and explain everything that happened today to Grandfather." Meow Xiao Meow calmed herself down, and the 2 of them began to walk back home hurriedly. When their figures disappeared around the corner, June Moxie's figure reappeared where they had been standing. Looking at the disappearing figure, June Moxie said softly, "I'm sorry. I can't." On the other side, after Zhan Bing Feng brought Zhan Qing Feng and Zhan Yushu out of Drifting Fragrance Inn, he threw the 2 brothers out of Heart Fantasy City. Without saying a single word, he gave them a vicious beating and cursed at them. He even ordered the 2 of them to reflect on their mistakes in seclusion when they returned. Then, he swaggered off. Zhan Qing Feng and Zhan Yushu landed on the ground with their faces covered in dirt. They looked at each other and saw the deep hatred in each other's eyes. "If I don't take revenge for this, I am not a man." Zhan Qing Feng punched a rock by the side of the road, his eyes bloodshot. "I must kill him. I must kill him. Kill that Mo Junyi." Zhan Yushu murmured fiercely. "No one has ever humiliated me like this since I was young. I cannot live under the same sky with him." "Big brother, what do you plan to do next?" Zhan Yushu asked through gritted teeth. "The best chance to get rid of him is today. If we miss this chance, we won't have another chance as long as we let him return safely. If we want to kill him in the future, we'll have to go against Holy Emperor Chao and the other 6 brothers. We don't have the time and resources to do so." Even if the 7 holy emperors find out about our intentions today, we will not be able to bear the consequences. Because we don't have any evidence against Mo Junyi. Anyway, the situation is completely out of control now. The only chance to salvage everything is this. Zhan Qingfeng said slowly. That's right. I believe that everyone here today thinks that the 2 of us have already been brought back to the family. If anything happens to Mo Junyi afterwards, we will be the biggest suspects. But it is precisely because we are the biggest suspects that they will not suspect us anymore. Zhan Yushu's eyes were extremely vicious. Yushu, leave this matter to your guards. Make sure to do it cleanly. Zhan Qingfeng's eyes flashed. If there are any traces of this matter, we will not be able to bear the responsibility. No, big brother, since we are going to do it, we might as well do it ourselves. Zhan Yushu had learned his lesson after suffering a loss once. He immediately rejected the idea and said, if this little brother were to rely solely on this little brother's strength, I'm afraid it would be beyond my capabilities. Only with big brother's help can we ensure that nothing goes wrong. Zhan Qingfeng was taken aback. He looked at his younger brother seriously and suddenly smiled bitterly. Yushu, you've grown up. Zhan Yushu did not say anything. He thought to himself, you still want to use me as a spear? If the matter fails, you can still use me as a scapegoat? Even if it's my own brother, it won't do. After the 2 brothers each sent out a signal, they stood facing each other in silence. Both of them could clearly feel an unprecedented and indescribable estrangement slowly growing between the 2 of them. Both of them knew that between the 2 brothers, it would be impossible to restore the harmony of the past, but neither of them spoke first. As the barrier grew higher and thicker, the color of the sky facing the sky slowly darkened. Right now, it was already dusk. By the time Miao Xiao Miao and her servant came out of Drifting Fragrance Inn, it was already dusk. The sun was gradually setting in the west. By the time they reached the foot of the mountain, there was only a blurry glow in the sky. It was as if the entire mountain was shrouded in a thick white fog. Miao Xiao Miao's heart was heavy along the way, and her thoughts were all over the place. Naturally, she did not walk quickly. Just as the master and servant were walking slowly, 2 figures suddenly overtook them, shooting forward like lightning. Looking at their backs, they were the 2 guards who were supposed to be protecting Mo Junyi. They were also the 2 in-name disciples of the Holy Emperor, Chao Guofeng, Wang Ning and Li Jie. After Jun Moxie obtained victory, the Zhan family's henchmen had all left, and the 2 of them naturally regained their freedom. But they could not find Jun Moxie no matter where they went, so they could only rush back to report to Chao Guofeng. Why did they leave Mo Junyi behind and come back alone? Miao Xiao Miao was puzzled and puzzled, when she heard a muffled sound from afar, followed by a muffled grunt. Did something happen? But who would be so daring as to cause trouble here? Do they really not want their lives anymore? A cold light flashed in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes, and with a flick of her wrist, she took out a small and exquisite piece of multicolored jade silk. Then, she took out a small dagger and lightly sliced her finger. Immediately, a few drops of blood dripped onto the jade silk, and the jade silk glowed brightly. In a flash, the entire piece of jade silk grew larger, until it was about a zhang wide. Miao Xiao Miao did not hesitate. She used the enlarged colorful jade silk to cover her and little beansprout's heads. This change was even more bizarre. The master and servant actually disappeared at the same time. This colorful jade silk was the treasure of the Misty Mansion. The cloak of invisibility. This was one of the few defensive treasures that the 9 Nether First Young Master had passed down. As long as it was activated by one's own blood essence and attached to one's body would instantly disappear. No matter how strong an expert was, they would not be able to detect it. Miao Xiao Miao and servant used this mysterious state of complete concealment and flew silently towards the location of the change, but when she flew up, She completely did not notice that just a few hundred feet behind her, June Moxie was leisurely flying over. Meow Xiao Meow and Little Beansprout moved forward invisibly. They saw that the road around the corner had already been blocked by a huge rock. There was even a piece of filth on it, and a pungent smell assailed their nostrils. This place was originally a corner, and there were 3 paths. Even if it was blocked, it wasn't a big deal. There were still several small paths on the side, and they could still go around. An indescribable pain and agony could be heard coming from one of the small paths. Meow Xiao Meow followed the sound without any hesitation. Following the sound, they made another 2 turns, and what came into view was a very remote path. And the situation on the path gave Meow Xiao Meow a huge shock. There was a total of 6 masked men in black blocking Wang Ning and Li Jie. From the looks of it, the 2 of them were already under someone's control. Intermittent voices came from the masked men, but they couldn't be heard clearly from afar. Meow Xiao Meow steeled her heart and moved a little closer. She could finally hear them. You can rest assured, we will definitely be able to do it. This was Wang Ning's words. He would definitely be able to do whatever they asked of him? An ominous feeling rose in Meow Xiao Meow's heart. That's right, as long as you can be magnanimous and let us go, it will be easy to take care of that trash, Mo Junyi. He only relies on his glib tongue to take advantage of us. If we were to talk about his trash cultivation, even Earthxian Yuxian would be able to easily kill him. Li Jie said. Meow Xiao Meow finally turned pale with fright. So the person these people wanted to deal with was actually Mo Junyi? Chapter 966. Meow Xiao Meow's heart was filled with rage. No matter what, Mo Junyi is your master's successor. You still have a duty to protect him. Not to mention, he just saved you from the Zhan family. If not for him, it's hard to say what would have happened to you. It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful, but when you met with danger, you immediately wanted to betray him. Where's your conscience? Where's the justice? Looking at these black-robed men, Meow Xiao Meow's heart lit up. She thought, could it be that these people are from the Zhan family? You can trust yourselves, but I can't trust you. Come eat this. As long as you eat it, I'll naturally believe you. One of the black-robed men stretched out his hand and dislocated Wang and Li Jie's jaws. With a wave of his hand, a small black pill flew into their mouth. Even though they were separated by a distance, Meow Xiao Meow could still smell the pungent stench coming from the black pill. 7 poison pill. This is definitely the smell of the 7 poison pill. These black-robed men, how did they get their hands on this forbidden medicine that is forbidden by the Misty Mansion? As expected, the black-robed masked man chuckled in a low voice. You guys can be considered to be experienced. I'm sure you know that this is the forbidden medicine of the Misty Illusory Manor, the 7 poison pill. After consuming it, if you don't get the antidote within 4 hours, your entire body will fester and you'll die. Outside of the time limit, even if you consume the antidote, your life will not be saved. But as long as you can kill Mo Junyi within 4 hours, or bring him here, I'll give you the antidote. As for how you're going to survive, that's up to you. Wang Ning and Li Jie's bodies trembled uncontrollably. Following that, the black-robed man's hand moved. Lengling said, "You can go now." Then, Wang Ning and Li Jie regained their ability to move, but they walked out like zombies. They had only taken 2 steps when they heard Lengling's voice behind them. Act naturally. If you reveal any flaws, humph, you're the one who's going to suffer. Wang Ning and Li Jie's bodies trembled, and fear appeared in their eyes at the same time. However, their walking posture immediately became much smoother. By the time he reached the corner, he had already returned to normal. What should he do now? Meow Xiao Meow asked herself anxiously. Every single one of these 6 masked men possessed the cultivation of a venerable realm expert. Even the weakest among them had the strength of a venerable. Even in the Misty Mansion, apart from the few great families, No other forces could come up with such a luxurious lineup. 4 ordinary small powers, if they had a single venerable expert, they could already be considered a hegemon. But now, to deal with a mere free and natural physique that was nothing at all, they actually had to send out a total of 6 venerable experts. Because of the luxurious lineup in front of them, it could be seen how determined the mastermind behind the scenes was. One could also imagine how intense and impatient this person's hatred towards Mo Junyi was. Just what should she do to allow Mo Junyi to escape from this calamity? Miao Xiao Miao was almost in despair. The strength displayed by the other party was simply too strong. Even if he were to show himself, the most he could do was spare his life. It would be of no use. At this moment, if he wanted to ask for help, the reinforcements would be too far away. It would be too late, after what seemed like a long time, and also like a short moment from afar, the sound of slow footsteps could be heard. Miao Xiao Miao looked towards the direction of the sound, and tears almost flowed out of her eyes. Not far away, Mo Junyi was dragging his feet, walking over slowly, step by step, completely unaware of the huge danger here. Foe! Aren't you being too careless? Why are you walking on the path of death? Miao Xiao Miao was just about to use her voice transmission to inform him, and even planned to use her movement technique to bring him away, holding on for as long as she could. But with a flash, Wang Ning and Li Jie had already appeared in front of Mo Junyi. From afar, it was unknown what Wang Ning and Li Jie were saying to each other, but Mo Junyi's face was full of smiles as he nodded his head repeatedly. Following that, he followed Wang Ning and Li Jie over. Looking at his posture, he was actually completely defenseless. Miao Xiao Miao finally gave up all hope. This bastard, just this afternoon, didn't you say that the two of them had ill intentions towards you? Why don't you have any suspicions now? Finally unable to bear it any longer, she gathered her divine sense and hurriedly transmitted her voice to Jun Moxie. Brother Mo, there's an ambush waiting to deal with you. Hurry up and leave, it's dangerous. Now that the distance between them was too close, it was impossible for her to forcefully use her movement technique to bring Mo Junyi away. The only result of doing so would be to spare her own life, and there was no other meaning to it. Now, her only hope was that Mo Junyi would immediately turn around, and she would follow him. Then, she would find a place to hide him with the jade silk. Only then would she have a chance to escape this calamity. However, young Mistress Miao did not expect that when the dull-headed Mo Junyi heard her risky voice transmission, he would suddenly raise his head to look at the sky in confusion. Scratching his head, he said, "Could it be that I'm dreaming? Am I hallucinating?" He actually laughed at himself and walked 2 steps forward, following closely behind Wang Ning and Li Jie. What an idiot! 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 Miao Xiao Miao was almost driven mad. I've never seen such a brainless pig. Right now, Miao Xiao Miao was both angry and anxious. She almost wanted to rush out and grab this free and natural physique genius Mo Junyi and beat him up to vent her anger. However, she could not do so. She was great prodigy Mo's last ray of hope. If she were to be rash, it would only ruin his last ray of hope. Closer, even closer, what should I do? Woo 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 woo. I really don't want him to die. A sinister laughter suddenly rang out, and 6 black-robed masked men appeared at the same time. Front, back, left, and right, they had completely sealed off every possible escape route for this great prodigy with the free and natural physique. Mo Junyi, young Master Mo, I've heard a lot about you. The leader of the black-robed masked man said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Ah? You are? Who are you people? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to rob me? I don't have any money. Mo Junyi seemed to have suffered a huge fright. It was no wonder that he was caught off guard by 6 masked men trying to rob him in the middle of the night. Anyone would be shocked. We are not robbing you, nor do we want your money. We only want your life. the black-robed masked man explained patiently, his eyes filled with the expression of a cat playing with a mouse. I'm really sorry. Because you offended someone you shouldn't have offended. We were ordered to come here, but we had no choice. We hope that great prodigy Mo can forgive us. Pardon, of course I will forgive you. June Emosia said with a trembling voice. As long as you move aside, I will forgive you. I definitely won't mind. I'm really sorry. We are very grateful for great prodigy Mo's magnanimity, but we are unable to do so. The leader of the black-robed men said regretfully. I'm really sorry, young Master Mo. Someone wants us to finish you off here. Furthermore, they want you to choose the most painful way to die, the slowest way to die. We are actually just a few small characters who can't make any decisions. The slowest way? The most painful way to die? Are you really going to let me choose? June Emosia asked in surprise. Meow Xiao Meow, who was behind the boulder, really wanted to come out and give him 2 tight slaps. They were just messing with you, idiot. You seem to be quite smart. Why are you so muddle-headed now? That's right. Since young Master Mo is so benevolent, I'll give you a chance to choose. Do you want to be burned to death, or drowned to death, or do you want me to personally cut off your flesh piece by piece? Can I not choose any of them? Don't you want the slowest and most painful way to die? June Emosia said pitifully. If I were to choose the slowest and most painful way to die, it would be nothing more than finding 100 beauties for me and having them strip naked on the bed. Then, I'll do them one by one, until I die of exhaustion, or maybe I'll be ked to death. This is the most painful and slowest way to die. Is this possible? Pooey! Meow Xiao Meow spat angrily in her heart. This fellow is already at death's door, but he's still full of cunning thoughts. That kind of way to die is indeed very slow, but it's a very blissful way to die. There's nothing to do with pain. Young Master Mo, I'm sorry, but I can't do it. The black-robed men were really very patient. But he was faithfully carrying out Zhang Yushu's orders. Let him suffer the pain of wishing for death, but still give him the hope of living, and finally torture him to death. You really want to kill me? June Emosia trembled. Why? Just why? I've just come to this place. Actually, there's no reason. The black-robed man walked forward step by step, exerting a huge pressure on June Emosia. It's just because you deserve to die. Not only have you offended someone you shouldn't have, but you've also moved Miss Meow's heart. Don't you know that Miss Meow has already been someone's concubine for many years? Meow Xiao Meow was really stunned this time. She was someone's concubine for many years, and she was even a concubine? Just which fellow was so daring? In that instant, Meow Xiao Meow almost forgot about the danger she was in. She almost wanted to rush out and reason with this fellow. How am I a concubine? That fellow, he's totally wrong about you. You're just daydreaming, a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Concubine? June Emosia said sadly. How can such a beautiful lady be someone's concubine? How can that person be so wicked? He's simply a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. His words made Meow Xiao Meow's heart feel a little better. Who knew that his next words almost made Meow Xiao Meow faint from anger? If she really wants to be a concubine, then she can only be my concubine. Who else is worthy? Meow Xiao Meow's heart was already bursting with anger. You, Mo Junyi. If you don't die today, I swear that I'll torture you for the rest of my life, and make you worthy. It's really getting late. Young Master Mo, you should be on your way. The road to the Yellow Springs is long, take care. The black-robed masked man said politely. If you still haven't decided on how to die, then I'll have to overstep my authority and choose for you. Wait. June Emosia took a step back and roared. Then, he begged sadly, why did you guys come to kill me? You haven't told me the real reason. Actually, I know that it's purely a misunderstanding. It's really a misunderstanding, you guys have to understand. Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? This time, it was the black-robed masked man's turn to be confused. What was this brat talking about? Chapter 967. Bastard! The masked man roared in exasperation. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that this kid, who was so scared that he couldn't even speak clearly, would actually say something like this. He couldn't believe his ears. Let's kill this kid as soon as possible. A long night is fraught with dreams. The person who spoke was actually Wang Ning. June Moxie turned around. You guys are also with them? Wang Ning turned around awkwardly and said coldly, Mo Junyi, actually, you really shouldn't have come to Misty Mansion. Everyone is unhappy that you're here, I understand. June Moxie lowered his head in despair. Wait! Seeing that these people were about to make a move, Miao Xiao Miao couldn't take it anymore. She tapped on Little Beansprout's acupuncture point and covered her body with the invisibility cloak. Then, she jumped out with a whoosh. At this moment, she suddenly had a strange thought. Even if I can't marry him, it's still good if we die together. So, she jumped out without hesitation. Standing beside June Moxie, Lengling looked at the 8 people in front of her. As long as you make way for me today, I can guarantee that I won't pursue what happened today. Miss Miao is here? Pursue? Pursue what? The leader of the masked men laughed angrily. Who do you think you are? If this was Misty Mansion or your Miao family, you would naturally be the most honorable little princess. No one would dare to offend you. But now that this place is desolate, no one can find this place. Do you think that you're still that arrogant young miss of Misty Mansion? You've come at the right time. I'll capture you and bring you back to young master. You should know that he has been looking forward to meeting you for many years. I think he will be very happy to be able to fulfill his wish today. Is your young master Zhan Qingfeng or Zhan Yushu? Miao Xiao Miao did not get angry when she heard that. She asked calmly. Oh right, the direct descendants of the Zhan family are usually assigned 3 bodyguards. There are 6 of you here. Zhan Qingfeng and Zhan Yushu must have joined hands? So, who are you going to give me to after you catch me? The black-clothed masked man's eyes shone with a lustful light as he chuckled. Miss Miao, you don't have to worry about this. When you are stripped naked and waiting to be fucked, you will naturally know who our young master is. Who knows, when our young master is bored, we can also have a taste of the little princess of the Misty Mansion. I wonder how different it is from the prostitutes in the brothel? Would a woman who had been played with be as noble as before? Ha 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 ha! Shameless! You deserve to die. Miao Xiao Miao was furious. That's right, they deserve to die. A Lengling's voice rang out. No one knew where it came from. Everyone looked around in shock, but no one could find the owner of this voice. Without a doubt, it must be some other expert. And it must be a terrifyingly strong expert. It's too late, hurry up and kill them. A black-clothed masked man roared and charged forward with his sword. Hee hee hee. A cold laughter rang out. Following that, a blood-red light shone in the sky. A cold sword aura appeared in the sky. A magical sword that was shining brightly suddenly appeared in the air. It appeared in the sky in front of June Moxie. This sword was engulfed in and spat out cold flames. It was like the eyes of the Grim Reaper, blinking in the night sky, making people feel cold from the bottom of their hearts. This was undoubtedly a strange treasured sword. The light on its body was originally blazing white, but the light it emitted caused the surrounding scenery to turn into an abnormally terrifying blood-red color. Although it was only a sword in front of them, everyone felt as if a demonic god had suddenly appeared in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was as if the sword itself was filled with an aura of supremacy. A demonic sword. In this moment, Miao Xiao Miao was also stunned. The moment this sword appeared in the sky, the murderous aura emitted from the sword was enough to subdue all the enemies present. Miao Xiao Miao had a strange feeling. In front of this sword, all the living beings in the world were like ants. With a flash of the sword light, the motionless sword suddenly whistled downwards at an extremely fast speed. In just a flash, Wang Ning and Li Jie, who were behind the two of them, didn't even have the chance to cry out before their heads were sent flying into the sky. There was no blood flowing out from their necks, but the two corpses had already become shriveled up. This was because the moment the heads were chopped off, the sword had already absorbed all the blood in their bodies. The sword that was stained with blood was still as bright as before, but the murderous aura was getting stronger and stronger. Kill. An extremely cold voice came out of nowhere. It was filled with the power to shock one's soul. When all the black-robed masked men heard this voice, they all became absent-minded for a moment. And in that moment of absent-mindedness, that devil-like sword once again swooped down with the grim smile of the Grim Reaper. Two more heads of the masked men in black were sent flying into the air. Demonic sword. Sword control technique. The leader of the black-robed masked men was scared out of his wit. Everyone, run! The sword control technique would only appear after one's cultivation had reached the level of the Holy Emperor. Only those who had reached the level of a Saint Venerable would be able to grasp the ultimate sword Tao. There were a few gaps in the cultivation of Xianqi, and this was completely caused by the carelessness of the Nether First Young Master back then in the Misty Mansion. There would not be more than 5 people who could grasp such an ultimate killing technique. And among these 5 people, any one of them was not someone these black-robed masked men could handle. A mere venerable's cultivation was completely useless in front of the sword control technique. They didn't even have the ability to defend. But it was already too late for them to leave now. The outcome was already decided. The divine sword once again let out a shrill cry and flew across the sky, leaving a blood-red light screen behind it. Sometimes it was on the left, sometimes on the right, agile and domineering. All the movement techniques of humans, no matter how ingenious, were nothing in front of the speed of this sword. The sword flashed again, and another 2 black-robed masked men fell to the ground. Of the 2 that fell, one was running towards the east, while the other was running towards the west. But both of them fell to the ground at the same time, losing their heads and turning into dried corpses at the same time. Another flash, and the person who ran the furthest slowly fell down. With a "pu" sound. Then the sword circled in the air, and flew in front of the leader of the black-robed masked men, swaying continuously in front of his eyes, shining with a cold light. The meaning was clear. Go back. Among the 6 venerable experts sent by the Zhan brothers, the only remaining black-robed masked man was the one who had mocked Jun Dashao earlier. Looking around, including Wang Ning, Li Jie, and his 5 companions, a total of 7 corpses had been turned into dried corpses. Then looking at the strange sword that looked like a demon and a god, he could not help but tremble uncontrollably. At this moment, the unwavering mental state of a venerable realm powerhouse had completely vanished without a trace. From the beginning to the end, the owner of this peerless demonic sword did not show himself. The entire process was completed by remote control of the sword. Just that sword alone was enough to create such a terrifying and shocking result. He did not doubt that if he showed any signs of resistance, this sword would pierce through his body in the next moment, turning him into a dried corpse like his companions. Trembling, he retreated step by step, his eyes filled with fear. Suddenly, he screamed, "Who are you? Who are you?" His voice was hoarse like that of a dying person, filled with complete despair and almost hysterical cries. But no one answered him. It was only when he retreated that the sword followed him step by step, maintaining a distance of 3 inches in front of his eyes. He could always feel a bone-chilling coldness. The sword flashed. At this moment, the leader of the black-robed masked men could clearly feel that the sword itself was emitting a mocking intent, as if it was mocking his cowardice. But there was nothing he could do. Under the threat of such a strange demonic sword, he had lost all will to fight. This was the disadvantage of being from a big family. June Moxie looked at this venerable expert who had lost all will to fight and sighed in his heart. This person's aptitude was quite extraordinary, and even his wisdom was considerable. However, compared to those experts who grew up in bloodshed and life and death battles, he still lacked a lot of unswerving determination. Although this person had the strength of a venerable one, he was very different from experts of the same strength who had been through actual combat. When faced with an undefeatable expert, those experts who had become heroes in actual life and death battles would first think about whether they could make use of the expert in front of them. Their second thought would be whether they could make use of the expert if they could not make use of the expert. His third thought was that, if the first two methods didn't work, could he gather all his strength to completely destroy this person and eliminate the threat forever? His last thought was to save his life at all costs and escape. In the worst case, if they could not even save and escape, they could still choose to fight to the death. They would rather be beaten to death than be scared to death. Even if they were beaten to death, they would still make them bleed. This was the spirit that people of Jianghu should have. But this expert in front of him, who had the strength of a venerable, although his cultivation had reached a certain level, did not have this kind of fighting spirit and determination. Now, he did not even have the thought of escaping. He only had the extravagant desire to surrender and survive. This was the side effect of living like a prince for a long time. They did not have the spirit that people of Jianghu should have. Chapter 968. This kind of person, in good times, would naturally be successful. But the moment he met with adversity, he would instantly lose all will to fight, and would no longer have any ability to resist. It was precisely because of this that June Moxie continued to train the Heaven Destroyer and Spirit Devourer, allowing them to temper themselves between life and death, and kill their enemies in the midst of hardship. Only in this way would they possess true strength. No matter how big the size of the tiger in the zoo was, it could even be twice the size of the tiger in the forest. But the moment the two clashed, the result would definitely be the opposite. This was the reason. The black-robed man had already retreated 27 steps. After a full 27 steps, the mysterious flying sword finally retreated a few steps, distancing itself from his eyes. And this distance was already right in front of June Moxie and Miao Xiaomiao. The strange scene before her eyes caused Miao Xiaomiao to be extremely shocked. What was going on? What kind of sword was this? What kind of master would such a mystical demonic sword have? She turned her head to look at June Moxie, only to discover that this free and natural physique prodigy's face was also filled with shock and bewilderment. It was obvious that this great prodigy also had no idea what was happening in front of him. Calming herself down, Miao Xiaomiao respectfully bowed towards the direction of the sword. I wonder which senior had saved us? Please show yourself, Xiaomiao will be extremely grateful. The knight was silent, but no one replied. Only the sword light flashed, and with a pu sound, it pierced through the chi-hai acupoint of the remaining black-robed man. Then, with a trail of blood, it came out from the back of the black-robed man. On the tip of the sword, there was a small blood-red ball hanging on it, gradually dimming. The black-robed man howled in pain, his heart wrenching. That was the accumulation of the essence of his entire life's cultivation. It had actually been completely swallowed by the sword, and it had even destroyed his chi-hai dantian. At this moment, he was an out-and-out cripple. This sudden reality made him feel worse than if he were to be killed. Heavily injured and heartbroken, he only had time to let out a blood-curdling scream before he fainted. The last thought in his mind was, "It's all over." The strange demon sword circled once in the air, and suddenly, a brilliant light burst out. An indescribable demonic aura abruptly spread out. In an instant, it was as if a hurricane had swept across the grassland. Everything was corroded by this demonic aura, and wherever it passed, all the green grass withered. The area it covered was no less than 100 feet in radius. Then, the sword once again regained its previous majestic and regal aura. It stopped in midair in a reserved manner, flickering with a gentle brilliance. It was like the bright moon in the night sky, mysterious, elegant, hazy, high up above, illuminating the universe and illuminating the people of the world. Miao Xiao Miao's beautiful eyes shone with genuine affection. He believed that no one would dislike such an outstanding divine sword. Just when Miao Xiao Miao thought that the mysterious expert was about to reveal himself, the sword suddenly let out a low sword cry and flew straight up. The tip of the sword pointed towards the sky, as if it was going to pierce through the heavens. When it rose to a height of more than 100 feet, it let out another sword cry. The world returned to darkness, and the shadow of the sword could no longer be seen. The sounds of insects and grass rustling in the surroundings seemed to have returned to normal, and the world was once again filled with vitality. It was as if nothing had happened in this area. 7 lives had been lost, and there was no smell of blood at all in this area, which could be called the Azura's field. We're saved, a mysterious expert saved us. Miao Xiao Miao's pretty face was filled with inexplicable reverence, and she murmured, "When I go back, I must tell my grandfather. I think he must know who this senior is, and I must thank this mysterious senior properly." In Miao Xiao Miao's heart, someone who could use such unfathomable means, and did not expect to be repaid for his kindness. After killing all the thieves, he floated away. Such behavior must be a virtuous and reclusive expert, or perhaps, he was the mysterious ancestor of the Misty Mansion. June Moxie's expression showed a trace of complexity, and then reverted to the fear from before. He seemed to be panicking as he responded with an "N. I say, do you know fear now? Didn't you hear the voice transmission I sent you earlier? You knew that there was danger here, but you still rushed in carelessly." Miao Xiao Miao looked at June Moxie angrily, and pouted her lips as she complained, "Do you know how dangerous the situation was just now? You're still boasting and haggling with that masked man. If this mysterious expert had come one step later, you and I would have been in a real miserable state." At this point, she naturally thought of the tragic fate that the masked man in black had said after catching her. She could not help but shiver, and her pretty face turned pale. "And you can't blame me. It's mainly because I heard your voice in such a remote place, I thought I was dreaming," June Moxie explained with a smile. He thought, with me here, not to mention 6 venerable ones, even if 6 holy emperors came, they might not be able to do anything. What kind of danger is there? If it's a danger that even I can't handle, what's the point of warning me in time? But of course, I can't say this out loud. But then again, it seems like you're the one who's taking the risk. This has nothing to do with you, and you've wasted so much of my effort. Of course, I can't say this out loud either, you're so unlucky. Dream? Dream your head. Miao Xiao Miao was embarrassed and annoyed. She rolled her eyes and stamped her little feet. Could it be that he was thinking about me along the way? Otherwise, why would he think he was dreaming when he heard my voice? Thinking about it, she still felt that the shock she received just now was too great, but the Mo Junyi in front of her was still so indifferent. Miao Xiao Miao naturally felt unbalanced and said angrily, "Look at you, you don't have the ability to deal with them, but you're still provoking them with words and scolding them. What if the savior doesn't come? If that senior comes half a step late, your little life might be over." June Moxie stared at her in astonishment. "Why can't I scold them? It's precisely because I'm no match for them that I have to scold them to vent my anger. Do you think that since they've planned to intercept me here, even if I don't scold them, they'll let me go? The final result is death, so why shouldn't I scold them? Even if it's just to vent my anger, it's still good. Since you're about to die, why don't you choose a way to vent your anger?" Miao Xiao Miao was suddenly speechless. This Mo Junyi, no matter what he said or did, seemed to have his own twisted logic. Although this twisted logic might not be correct, it was hard to refute it. In short, it sounded wrong, but one couldn't find any fault with it. It was full of evil. Just like now, he had just escaped death, but he was still talking big, but it was hard for her to refute his logic. You don't say, the senior who saved us today is really amazing. He's really too handsome. Meow Xiao Meow felt that it was hard to refute great prodigy Mo, so she instantly changed the topic and became excited. Oh my god, that's the complete version of the Imperial Sword technique. I've only heard of it in my life, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. Seeing it today, it's really. After a long while, Meow Xiao Meow still couldn't think of a suitable adjective, but this didn't hinder her excitement. Do you know? In the entire Misty Mansion, there are definitely less than 10 people who can use such a technique. Moreover, they're all old seniors who have been in seclusion for a long time. Sigh, also, that sword is really too beautiful. Too elegant. If I could have a sword like that. Sigh. As she spoke, her eyes became hazy, and she actually fell into endless reverie. Don't ever guess a woman's thoughts. One moment she was talking about this matter, and the next moment she's talking about something completely different. It's really a little too. June Moxie looked at the unconscious man in black on the ground, and was a little speechless. Finally, he opened his mouth to remind her, I say, Miss Meow, this guy doesn't seem to be dead yet. Should we wake him up and interrogate him? He's the only one left alive. What he meant was, can you stop being so emotional? The big shot that you've always admired is standing right in front of you, listening to your lecture. You should do something serious first. It's not very appropriate for us to interrogate him. I'll bring him back, and there will naturally be someone suitable to interrogate him. Meow Xiao Meow had obviously made up her mind on this point. When it came to serious matters, she finally put away her emotional expression and said seriously, no matter whose subordinate this man in black is, or which big family he belongs to, what happened today is an unforgivable crime. We're still the younger generation, and there are many things that we may not be able to think through so thoroughly. If we were to handle it ourselves, other than our own weight being insufficient, or our actions being too light, or even negligence, these are all mistakes that are difficult to make up for. Why don't we just throw this problem to the family, since they have nothing better to do anyway? June Moxie didn't expect this girl's mind to be so flexible. She didn't even need his reminder, and had already thought of this step. She could be considered to be exceptionally intelligent and intelligent. Since Meow Xiao Meow had given such a reasonable suggestion, June Daxiao naturally wouldn't express his opinion. His thoughts changed, and he thought of another matter. Miss Meow, it's normal for me to take this path. Why are you here as well? At the mention of this matter, Meow Xiao Meow suddenly became a little bashful. Her toes rubbed against the ground, and she tilted her little head, not saying a word. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.